If wishes were horses, we'd all be eating steak.
You sure about that, Jane?
Jane, a man we call Jane. Firefly, we're back for part 2. So
the final part
through
for
14.
this series.
You would think.
Yes.
No, we got some secret episodes that were not aired. My best pal Joss Whedon sent them to me.
Oh, you're friends with Joss Whedon?
Yeah, you don't want to say that anymore.
So, yeah.
I'm fine with that.
It's probably for the best. You don't want to say that anymore.
Yeah. Look, amazing creator, amazing writer. Not a great person anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, kind of a garbage person. But
guys, why are you making fun of Crimson's friend? I mean,
we make fun of cell number.
Okay, Springs, we make fun of each other all the time. I think we're allowed to make fun of Crimson's friends.
555-613-0048. There you go. Joss Whedon's number. Go try it out.
Yeah, go try it out. See if he'll answer.
But getting a little derailed here.
I knew you just said some random's number, but I have to say that you probably just gave away some actual number.
No, I did a 555.
555 aren't real.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. The more you know.
There you go. That's why they use them on television movies. I'm Chris Maroon.
Hi, I'm a geeky writer.
I'm a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
Yes. And since we already covered our history in Firefly, shall we do it again or just gloss over and
let's just gloss over like a honey baked ham.
Sure, I'll go really quickly. Good show. Grew up watching it. Great. Loved it. Still do. Done.
All right. I guess I'll do quick. I saw it, liked it, and I'm back. There you go. Sister?
Saw it, liked it, wanted some more of it, finished it, the end.
History from last part of episodes 1 through 7. Only difference is I finished the rest of the show.
There we go. We're so responsible. All right. So we are starting off with episode 8, Out of Gas. Because this time I learned and wrote the names of the episodes.
I thought we were going to do what they did in the episode and start at the end. So we're going to start at episode 14 and then work our way backwards.
Oh. No.
That'd be weird.
Well, it was weird in the episode too, so bite me.
You don't like... I take it Quentin Tarantino is your least favorite director then.
No, I liked it. I'm just being...
Got it.
I'm being difficult for
being a thorn.
Yes.
All right. We will also do the popcorn method again. So, who wants to start off?
I think I want to hear Sprinks start first.
All right, Sprinks, you're up.
Didn't see that coming. To my knowledge, I think what we shared last time through the episodes 1 through 7 talk, all the episodes kind of came out randomly, sort of, right? When they came out to air?
Through Fox.
Yes.
They
aired in order.
Okay. Remind me, Crimson, did you say one was like not the finale, but was played as the finale? Because the way 8 starts really feels like it's a season finale.
I know that wasn't last, so it's not that. Because this was supposed to have 22 episodes, I think. It got canceled mid-season, so they didn't have an actual end.
Oh, well, I'm sure we can all discuss the feelings of that on episode 14. But yeah, this one very much to me felt like a mid-season finale, at least starting-wise in the whole time jumps of present, then past 22 hours, I think it said, and then like real early on when they were getting to know each other.
Yeah, it's kind of where this felt for me as well. This felt like what would have been a mid-season finale, or something to, like, when there's normally a break in a 22 episode show where they take it like a month off or something. This felt like would have been where that was placed. Mostly because we get some origin stories here.
Yeah, good number of flashbacks. Was there any particular moment you wanted to bring up, Spriggs?
In my stating that it felt like a finale, or just in general?
Well, just something from the episode.
Oh,
that was kind of like a broad umbrella episode thing. So.
It did pop out a little towards the end when Malcolm's going to repair the engine. It does a little point of view shot, which I think is the only point of view shot they use in the whole show. That was kind of interesting to use.
Huh. Missed that one.
Yeah, I think so. I can't think of any other first-person shots.
Point of view, POV.
I guess I'll go kind of another umbrella one where it's just, I like how if you're paying attention, you can also catch it, but they do it very nice with the colors. So you don't have to think, oh, is this a flashback? Or you don't have to think. It's pretty clear because the flashbacks were like a greenish hue. Present was kind of blue. And then I guess when all the happenings were going on, the explosion and stuff, that was just like the normal colors. So I think that it was a good and smart decision on their parts to do that. Because the part where Malcolm takes Inara to her shuttle and talking about payment and all that stuff, when they walk in and it just goes green, I'm like, oh, all right, we're in flashback now. Because it was such a seamless transition, you wouldn't have really noticed right off the bat until they obviously started talking about some stuff. If they did well with that.
I got a specific moment that I really like because I read a lot of sci-fi. I write a lot of sci-fi and watch a lot of sci-fi. So when the engine exploded, I like the first thing they do is seal off the parts of the ship where they're all in to vent the fire out into space.
Yeah.
Which is really, really smart, very, very intelligent, and it kind of shows what the crew is. The crew is very efficient. Like this is like something that can happen. They prepared for it, and it's nice to see that. I just like my characters being reasonably intelligent.
And even Jane was serious about it.
I know.
Sounds like I need my medical bag. No can do. You'll kill us.
Yep. Well, Jane is trying to save his own skin partially too. But I guess this also will play into a few other key aspects that I really like. I like Mal's leadership a lot in this episode. In the present time, we shall call it, instead of the flash forwards. Where Zoe gets knocked out and Wash is very worried, and Mal basically gives him an order because they have a job to do.
I'm not asking.
Mal, I like that, and it also shows he whips his crew when he needs to, but in this instance, but also later on when he tells Wash to go see his wife because things are better, like they don't have to worry as much, because they've done all that they can. The first thing he says is go see your wife. It's really, really efficient leadership, and I really, really appreciate that in a leader like character. We get to show the qualities rather than being told the qualities.
Yeah, I agree. That whole Wash conversation in the medical room was pretty good for a leader position. Sinister, you got something?
Yeah, this was probably one of my this is probably one of my favorite episodes of probably this second half. Just because I have a little bit of a niche appreciation, I think, for, I don't know if it's that much of a niche, but I like bottle episodes and I like stranded episodes, and this is kind of a combination of the two. This isn't really a bottle episode though, because it's not it's the same set just with less people on it and everything, but I like, it's in that style of just kind of really small scale and storytelling and that kind of stuff. I like that. It was interesting why they or it was interesting that they did like flashbacks like halfway through, or I say flashbacks like halfway through the season, because we kind of most everything else has kind of just been had to pick up through hints and things. It hasn't been just kind of like, Here you can see the visual of it right now, all that kind of stuff. So it was interesting, I guess, to see all that. Or I guess, in a way it was so that you could see how connected Mal was to both the crew and the ship. And it wasn't just a one-for-one, it was kind of a mutual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I also really like the touch of venting the fire. That was that was a good because I'm pretty sure, like in space, if you had the fire, that's the quickest way to get out of fire. There's no oxygen in space.
I was trying to think if they would vent or just have a fire suppression system. Either, I'm fine with either.
Yeah, I feel like they probably would have like a fire.
Visual of the vent.
I imagine they would have both. But strategically, in this instance, because no one was near the engine room, you may as well just vent the ship.
Yeah, and they didn't have any cargo, so there wasn't any chance of losing any. I mean, they only opened it like a little crack, but still, there's no chance of losing any cargo. I'm sure it definitely came out. It was definitely he's not the progenitor of this, but I'll say it anyways, just because people know what I'm talking about. It's definitely a very post Christopher Nolan episode, because they're telling a story backward, or telling a story out of order, and you kind of getting to it, which I sometimes don't.
I don't know. I attribute more of that to Quentin Tarantino than I do Nolan, which is interesting, I guess. But I know what you're saying.
I think what I mean in the way of, because he did tell Pulp Fiction story out of order, which I like better than Nolan. I'm gonna say that right now, but I'm just going off of just because of Memento Mori, which is kind of a similar. I think more of a similar style to this episode than like Pulp Fiction, because Pulp Fiction is just like you just jumping, So I think it's more Nolan styled, but it's not. He wasn't the first one to tell a story out of order. They've been doing that since the '60s, but it's just a nice little pole to hang your hat on. So it was. I was surprised that they went that route, because it was not something I was expecting, and I think it can definitely hurt, or it can work a story, and I think it definitely worked for this one.
I agree. And this is also my favorite episode of the show, I think.
Yeah, they should have done more like this.
I don't know. I think keeping it as it is makes it more special, I think.
Yeah. I was meaning more like Stranded or like Solo kind of episodes. Yeah, no, not doing it out of order. Yeah, you can only do that like maybe a few times, or else it'll just get old. But like I think they could have, and I'm sure they probably would have down the line done more kind of self-contained, like like character developing episodes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll never know, Fox. Thank you.
I have a question for, I guess, all of you to answer.
Mm-hmm.
So with Kaylee and what was his name?
I don't remember. Genius guy.
Yeah, Genius.
The Genius Mechanic.
I had it written.
Yeah, the Genius Mechanic.
I just have it written as Genius Mechanic.
Yeah.
Did you find it weird that was Kaylee? Not that she was in the engine room or anything like that. Just like that's what she was doing.
I thought it was going to be Wash, and I damn it, I can't remember her name.
Zoe.
I kept wanting to say Lena, and I was like, it's not Lena. Jesus,
the only reason I wrote it off as not being Wash is because we saw him with a mustache earlier, like I think in that same flashback or very near flashback. So
well, see, that's why I was like, I was pretty sure it wasn't Wash, but it was close enough, and it would have been, I guess, comical.
Yeah, I wrote this down. I did find it odd that it was Kaylee in the being just having casual sex in the engine room. I did find it odd, mostly because she's all, at least for the most part of the show, is not as bad as Simon, but in a similar vein of where she doesn't seem to be that kind of person who just got around. Um, though once he talked about like once the genius mechanic said that engine rooms like is a turn on for her, that's when I realized it was Kaylee. I wrote down I was actually going to ask a similar question. It was definitely odd. I think, like I said, in a more flushed out universe where we had 24 episodes or something like that, it might have a little bit. We might have had a little more nuance to understand that. But here it does feel out of place with what we have.
Yeah, and it's just kind of weird because I always saw her as like the innocent character, so seeing her do
I think
that
that's
was
just
a
how,
little
like,
weird for me personally. I guess.
I remember correctly, and granted, my memory is not so good, and especially for the earlier half because I didn't rewatch it. But I'm giving out my position in the beginning. Sorry. If I remember correctly, it was mostly Mal treating her like she was sort of a kid. I don't know how old she is. I don't remember if they said that. So I mean, she could be like 19 or something. Yeah. But like, having that where she's supposed to be growing and everything, or like expanding and all that stuff, her horizons and all that kind of thing. I think she just kind of gets lumped into being treated, very pure and innocent. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she is for the most part, but she's, everybody's got like their thing. And at least I remember her being sort of, I mean, overtly flirty with Simon in like the beginning.
Yeah, so like I said, it's not horrible. It's just because if anything was going to,
it does feel like it comes out of nowhere a little bit. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Brinks, what do you have to?
Yes, Brinks, your thoughts.
On the Kaylee situation?
Yeah.
I thought it was fine for an introduction to a character. In the past telling of how Kaylee became a member of Serenity. I think that was fine, especially since I had no clue who this mechanic dude was.
I'm fine with the results.
I didn't know if he was gonna I didn't know if he was gonna get killed off or if there was gonna be like some more depth to this guy or something to get him traded out for Kaylee or something. Who knows? But I think the use of him to get to Kaylee for what was shown was just fine.
Do you have something to bring up, Sprinks?
Oh, just another thing of the episode. I tend to prefer practical lighting versus artificial for set lighting and whatnot, and the show does practical lighting fairly well at good times. This episode, I don't think did that well for practical lighting when it came to the like the 20 hours prior part of the episode. It was very grainy, and it was the use of like one light bulb.
I just thought that was the natural lighting on the ship. But fair enough.
I don't.
It seemed fine to me, but all right.
Good insights there. I really liked this episode. It was definitely weird going from Janestown to this. It was kind of like a night and day difference.
It's very different.
Yeah.
Kind of a filler fluff episode with Janestown, and then we get a serious. It doesn't really progress the story or really much the characters, but it's still good.
Yeah, like I said, it was interesting, kind of like having like pretty much a little past the halfway point, a lot of character backstory kind of thrown in, but I think it worked.
I liked. We didn't get much River, but I liked her in pretty much every instance of her showing up. during the birthday party, she was talking about figuring out when a birthday is in space, and that she didn't get him anything.
Like, I'm trying to say they didn't get you anything.
Yeah, and we'll freeze to death before we run out of oxygen.
Yeah, he has the brave talk, or like the brave, like something akin to like she talks about bravery with the preacher. That I really like that scene as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good subversion. That her speech was like, well, because we don't know the extent of her powers. It's kind of, I think Sprink said one of his theories was future sight in the first part we did.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, you still don't know if that's one of her abilities. So it's kind of built up like, oh, does she know they're going to make it and stuff? And then she's like, no, we'll just freeze and die first. Oh, okay.
It's I think she just, I'm not, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to say anything about that because it becomes more apparent what it is in later episodes. So I'm not gonna blow my wad in the episode 1 or episode 8. But
it was interesting seeing Shepard that scared because with his whole battered past or whatever that we don't really know, he seemed like someone that would not be afraid of death to me. And being a religious man on top of that, it added to the humor of the scene, I suppose.
I agree. Does anyone have anything else to say about this episode? Any bad things? Yeah. Okay.
Well, I don't have any bad things.
Okay.
Give me a second. I might find something. But I'm just I'm going to talk about Jane's recruitment, which I thought was hilarious. Just the manipulation that Mal and Zoe do on Jane to get him to join their crew, like while he's holding them at gunpoint in his like origin story, which it's very quick, but it's very funny, and it's obviously played for laughs in the tonal shift of between this and Mal asphyxiating potentially. So I thought it was just the brilliant interchange was great, and then I thought the manipulations themselves were also, like I said, they're funny, but they also get the point across that he would have a better life with them if he sided with them.
7%, Zoe, I'm paying you too much. Wow, how much is she making? Pretty good. Kind of, I guess, a problem is he just shot Mako, this is his boss, in the leg, so Mako could have shot him or them. He goes kind of just down and out, getting shot in the leg.
Yeah, I think there is a minor problem, which is, I mean, Mal going to the doctor's room to inject himself with adrenaline is a very, very intelligent move to do, but even still, he is up and about a long time before he finally passes out.
Yeah, I don't know to what extent he passed out. Was it blood loss or overall exhaustion, the oxygen level?
I would assume all three at that point. It's really unclear.
So I don't know, depending on what knocked him out, if the adrenaline would have been helpful for keeping him up longer in that regards. I don't know the effects of adrenaline, or how long.
I don't. Yeah, I didn't go to medical school, so I don't know anything. But
adrenaline tends to be very, very quick acting, but it usually doesn't last more than like 5 to 10 minutes, because it's meant to get you from being in a not so safe place to a safe place. And then obviously when you crash, you crash. That's mostly what I remember on it.
Right.
One other detail that I really, really liked was Mal fighting to stay awake in the medical bay, because he wasn't sure, if like he was hallucinating again and he was going to go back to sleep forever.
Oh, at the end?
Yes. Where he's
you guys will all still be here when I wake up, right?
Yeah. I like the detail of him trying to fight and stay awake, because he spent so long trying to stay awake that he just almost dozes off and then fights to stay awake to ask the question, because it's a fear that would be ingrained in you at that point.
Yeah,
Good detail. I really liked it.
it's a good episode.
Do you like that they came on their own accord instead of the button?
It's in character enough for Zoe, especially with what we understand our understanding of her as it grows throughout the rest of the show. So she would have forced them back. And at that point, once they're on the ship, they would have called the other shuttle back potentially, or Wash would have flown them back. So it works. I wish there was a stronger reason, because it's convenient that she just happened to wake up in time.
Yeah.
That's
How'd you feel
what I was kinda
about?
leaning towards there?
This is not super connected to that, but just remembered. How do you feel about like the other ship, like all that all that went down?
Small odds that
with
they
the
would have
part
picked up the
exchange.
signal first off, but at least they boosted it. But my problem with the other ship was why they just left him. They knew he was going to run out of oxygen and stuff, so they could have just waited him out and then took the ship.
Yeah, I would have preferred just something a little more clever on that aspect, because it is very convenient that they just gave him the part and left. And they obviously shot him, but there could have been something more here. And it is very
I mean you could read into it like, oh well, his care of like the ship or whatever, and all that stuff could have convinced them otherwise, but yeah, it's a little too easy.
Strix, you got anything?
I thought some of the transitions between the blue present, the yellow or greenish yellow past, and what all like the time period transitions, some were okay and some were actually fairly decently well with the camera panning. So I thought that was pretty well done.
Yeah, I think, like Crimson said, I really liked the transition to Inara's past one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were all pretty good. My favorite one would probably be the first one where Malcolm and Zoe were looking at the new ship, and Malcolm was like, "Oh, looks like somebody's been living here. Just walk over it," which was kind of amusing. And then they just go through the doorway and pan down, and Malcolm's just laying on the floor. It was very clean.
That's true.
Clean.
Yeah,
I liked it. I wanted more of it.
I kind of one of the things that I guess that I just thought of with regards to lighting was we had the very, very oversaturated look in the flashbacks, and then we have the like grainy, as Spring said, like one light bulb, very, very low lighting for the center, and then in the future jump ones, it's just dark and light enough to see the character. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
It kind of illustrates, I think, like kind of like it illustrates a lot of the tonal differences. That I really
the life is getting drained from the ship and Malcolm.
Yeah, I did like that they made him
if you want to take it a thematic route, probably. Yeah.
No, you're talking to me.
Yes, I know.
I will say I liked the imagery of when the other ship boards and there's that gush of fresh air, or
Niles just enjoying it.
Yeah, it's like, yes,
you just bought me like an extra 30 minutes.
It's good. So does anybody have anything else to
last line of questioning? Anyone else got stuff?
Not necessarily. It was a pretty good episode.
I got one thing.
All right.
Truth time. Okay. Tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Do you wish that Wash still had the mustache?
No.
No.
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
Don't get me wrong, it was hilarious, but I'm happy it was a one-off thing. Because, too much good of one thing, Sinister, will ruin it, okay? Let the majesty of it just...
I would have loved for him to put a fake one on during the
he would have
episode.
like, guys, remember when I had a mustache? Maybe I should bring it back. And then Zoe's like, no. Whoa, I just got that though, because she was like, I don't like him because he probably had the mustache. And then he shaved the mustache, and she was like, you know what? I like him now.
I thought that was a good setup. There's no history between them yet, so.
All right. Ryder, did you have anything left to add?
I don't believe so. I got all the major ones that I really wanted to get out. The scenes that stuck out to me.
Any major dude will tell you.
Any Jane will tell you.
We're running out of oxygen. Stop yelling.
Just like this episode.
Actually, that is a funny moment. That Jane is the one to break up the fight, which would be out of character normally, but in this situation, it just happens to work perfectly because it's self-preserving.
And how generous he was getting that suit ready, even though Malcolm didn't use it. Which, I don't know. What do you feel about Malcolm not using the suit of oxygen?
Well, he probably if they hadn't have gotten the other ship to come in.
I think he eventually would have gone for it. Yeah.
But probably once he got shot, there was really. He probably would have opened the wound more. If he'd gotten the suit or anything. So, I can understand why he didn't do it. After that, I
think if he'd used it, eventually he would have used it if he hadn't been shot. But, that's
okay. I guess my last thing is I think they just did a good job planning out where everything goes in this episode.
Yeah, it flowed really nicely.
Showing the adrenaline so the audience would know, Malcolm would know where it is. Or Kaylee showing him how to put the engine part in and everything. I think it was all very well done. And then on that, I think we'll go to ratings for the episode. Nice, quick, just showed the number out there.
Huh?
Yeah. So, Ryder.
Okay. Objective for this episode was 8. Subjective was also 8. According to my notes. I think I still stick to that.
Right. Mine would be a subjective 8. No, objective 8 and subjective 8.5. Sinister.
I was gonna give this a 9, but I think I'll give this 8.5.
And Springs.
Objective 8.5. Subjective 7.
All right. On to episode 9, Ariel.
This is another good follow-up.
This is the heist.
I knew Springs would like this one. I'm curious to see how much he liked this one.
I do like this one.
Since he started the previous episode, we'll start with Sinister going first.
All right, this was a bit of a surprise because we haven't had a heist episode in a while. Technically, I guess the train one doesn't really count.
Yeah, it was more. It was a quick one. There wasn't a planning stage. They just went.
Yeah. So this was, I guess, the first proper heist episode, and I don't think it disappointed in that regard as far as heist episodes go. It was I'll give it this, that kind of not the cold opening, but the opening of this episode. They're all having a nice time, eating some the stinky the rice or whatever he was. It was like,
oh, it smells like privates or whatever.
Yeah, it smells like privates.
Crotch.
It smells like crotch. Wow, thanks, Jane. Most eloquent speaker in this entire series. To frickin' River just slashing Jane out of nowhere.
He looks better in red. What else is there to say?
That's the best way to follow up somebody stabbing somebody. You just look better in red. I thought, it's the only way you can get
You must
into
be wondering
it.
why the red suit. Well, that's so bad, guys. Don't see me bleed.
Can't see me bleed. This guy's got the right idea. He wore the brown pants. We'll get there someday. But yeah, it was and definitely probably I would have hoped that they would have had more episodes like this for kind of the growth of River, because they not to say there was definitely a lot of River episodes in the second half, which Crimson kind of already hinted at. But I did enjoy kind of, I guess, the sort of more sci-fi aspects of kind of the River development. I'll pass this along to Ryder.
Sure. I really like the setup for the heist, and I like that it's the doctor's proposal, and he pitches it in a way that it'll be mutually beneficial for both the crew and him, to get his sister in. So, I thought it's very intelligent of him, because it helps him kind of get in with the crew a little bit, getting them a big score, essentially, while also facilitating them to be able to help him. Which I thought was very, very clever. I think that is one of my favorite aspects to the episode is Simon in particular for this one.
Yeah. Very Simon-centric.
Very Simon-centric. And I think, like I said, his character traits are very, very great. And that's very vague. His character trait, him wanting to ultimately help people, it shows up in this episode when he has to save some random person in the middle of the mission, and it shows that he will do that because that's who he is. And it's a nice it kind of almost completes his character in a way. You don't really know the limits of what he's willing to do or what he's like. So I think once that happened, I had a full understanding of a better understanding of who he was.
Yeah.
One of my issues, it's not huge or anything, but Sinister kind of touched on it on episode 1, last part, of the currency. We don't get too much on currency. And we are to believe that 50 platinum and stuff is super expensive. I wish we understood how much things are worth in this. Because we just get, it's expensive, but I don't know how expensive 50 platinum is.
Yeah, you want an understanding of the value.
Shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I think also, in a more flushed out show, I think we would have gotten understanding of that. Well, we also would have gotten a little bit more how the economy works, because I didn't take it to mean it that way. I took it to mean that it's more, they would get more profit for it in the Rim because it's so common here in the core. As they say, they want to get it to the Rim territories in order to give them supplies.
Yeah. I would imagine it's worth more the further you go. It's just I just don't.
Because
know much of any of the economy.
I still think that is kind of an overarching issue with the show, is because, especially just because most of it is so hinged on how much money they're making and spending, and that kind of thing, that we never really get kind of a glimpse into, okay, well, what's a good amount of money, and then what's or what's the cost, or that kind of thing. So this one, I guess, kind of helped illuminate a little bit more, but again, they kind of didn't get too into specifics to kind of answer all the questions.
I would say the world building in Firefly is one of the weaker aspects of it, because they do enough world building to facilitate our understanding of what is happening currently on screen. While I guess the example the opposite this would be we thanks to a TV show like Andor, we know how the Empire in the original trilogy is functioning off screen. Whereas here we don't really. we don't really know how the rest of the world is functioning off screen. We have a very we know what we need to know in order to facilitate our understanding of, like I said, the current event that's happening in the show.
Yeah,
but not necessarily enough to picture how the world functions off screen.
It all kind of goes down to like how much are you willing to accept without a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, for this, I'm willing to accept a good amount more because I like the story.
Yeah,
but
the characters are, like I said, the story really hinges on the characters, and like I said, world building can be weak, but characters and good writing can still carry that through to the end.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, because even without all like a lot of the financial, economical stuff that I kind of wish was sort of in this, and I'm sure if it was all that and nothing, and none of like the depth of the characters and everything, I'd find it really, really boring, and it would be really kind of tedious to watch and all that kind of stuff. Somebody out there would still think it's interesting though. Obviously, but for me, that would just kind of be like, okay, that's too much of one thing and I can't handle it. But so this, it really works best in like these, it works because the characters have depth and they're easy to kind of, Mal's never going to do this kind of thing because that's not against character, that kind of thing. But it would have been nice, like I said, it would have been nice if there was a little bit more of a concrete understanding of the financial side of it, but I'm willing to have them not have that because everything else, the characters, is so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Spriggs, you got anything?
I don't know how purposeful it was. But I thought the part of them going over the script with Simon on what to say is a clever little use of putting bloopers in an episode.
There you go. I didn't think of it that way, but I like
actually bloopers, or
it could have been.
I don't know. Kristen's in charge. Does he have a fact on it?
Yeah, do you have a fact?
I saw nothing on that, so I guess it's speculative.
Could be canon.
Could be canon.
I mean,
but
I would imagine it was a planned script thing, so it probably isn't. But it would be cool if it was.
They probably gave like the parts that to the person that would be the most easy for them to flub up or something. If they were going that route, because they have to show it kind of, because I'm sure even as like the best actors, you're gonna kind of not be able to memorize fast. So it's probably like, here, we need you to kind of just half-ass this and then flub it up on purpose. Mm-hmm. I will say, added to that, piggybacking off of Sprinks' thing, I like that they spend about 5 minutes, showing all that and, them working on it. And then they actually get to the hospital and nobody cares. Like, nobody asks any question. Nobody asks any further questions.
Simon vastly overestimates the care these people that will put in their daily job.
Yeah,
but it's great. I still love it.
I wonder, though, that made me wonder, do you think he did it on purpose? Or do you think it just, was like, oh, he just vastly overestimated how much depth they were actually going to go into when they got there?
I'm going with the latter.
He was definitely serious about it.
I'm going with the latter because, I mean, like, if in the world that Simon's imagining where they are serious, they would have had to know to answer these questions.
Yeah, I guess because in his worldview, everything functions exactly as how he does, which is like very detail oriented and everything. But then,
I mean, like
the actual people that work there, don't care.
Yeah, another example of this is him going out of his way mid mission to save someone because they weren't putting in that much effort. Like, he forgot a very simple thing, which was to mix 2 drugs together for an injection. And as he says, that's the basic shit. So it kind of shows off that the whole system is kind of laid back about the whole thing. And I think it also shows that Simon wouldn't have been happy working in a hospital like this.
He's sort of the exception to the rule, I guess, or or vice versa. He's the rule and everything else is the exception, where you kind of just because so far we only really have any understanding of like the alliance kind of people is Simon. And so we're kind of hinged on that everybody's going to is sort of like him in that way, or and then when we actually get exposed to other people, they're not at all as cunning or as like detail oriented as he is, and they're all kind of just sort of shit at their jobs in their own way. So I like that.
Jane's betrayal of them.
I was a little surprised by this because the earlier episodes had a similar thing, but he didn't actually go through with it.
Yeah, I think I can't say I was surprised. I think like with the setup in the previous episodes and like River like carving him, I thought that was a good enough for a breaking point for him specifically, that he would want to do this because he'd get money out of it.
Yeah, my problem with it was how surprised he was that Mal took it like personally.
Yeah.
It's not like I ratted you out. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Jane. You thought he'd be happy that they got gone?
I mean, I guess I wasn't surprised that he did it. My main surprise was it felt like they were like setting something up where he was going to do a double cross or something, and then it didn't really happen.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that was my main surprise. I don't know, Springs. What did you think?
I thought he was a bit of an asshole at this point of the show to go about and do that. Even though we complained that he was stupid and the money was too good, that's still yes, it's understandable that if anyone was a traitor at this point, that wouldn't be like a big plot twist to be like a bad guy continuation kind of thing. It would be Jane for being stupid. But I think it's just so later on in the show at episode 9 now that it's just kind of dumb.
Well, he didn't do it
because the character's dumb, but dumb because it's a part of the story.
You mean it's dumb you mean it's dumb in the meta context where like this would have been better in the 22 episode show
earlier.
Earlier. Okay.
Yeah, it does feel like he's grown kind of past.
Yeah, I will say this. I guess the only thing that really makes us feel like out of place would be the Janestown episode. Because I thought like the ending scene there he has with Mal, where they're both like just thinking about life at the end of that episode, it's not, doesn't necessarily be character defining, but like for me there is enough here to prevent Jane to initially do this on instinct. So I think that's kind of a product of just how short the show was gut, or how much the show is gut, more than it is being a problem for Jane specifically as a character, because it does feel a little bit out of place, I suppose, even with all the setup otherwise.
Mm.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty justified in his actions for what we know of Jane. Because we saw in the previous episode, in his flashback, he betrayed his own crew. We don't know how long he was with them, but some while. Betrayed them. He's never liked River or Simon. He's always wanted them gone. He didn't do it now because the money was good. That was like a major positive. The reason he did it now was because he fears for his life on the ship with River, cutting him for no reason.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's mostly justified. Springs, do you have anything more you'd like to add? Because I want to hear more of what your thoughts on it are. Because I don't want to speak for you, but I took it a very meta direction, which is that pacing wise it felt off because it's very late in the show to you. So
yeah, another thing that was odd to me is how he got about contacting the government around anyone or privately. I guess he could have done it in his chambers or when he was alone on Serenity, but it's still. I know Serenity doesn't have like a huge security system or anything, but it seems I find it odd that it was off script off shown that he was already in contact with them about the situation during the prep of the heist and going into the heist until they were at the hospital where he messaged them.
Yeah, it's like you feel like there's a step missing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it might have been
for
like
the shock or the twist of his betrayal.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know, whatever you'd call it.
Yeah.
It's not,
Well, I feel like to fit it a little more is if he contacted them to talk about it then. Not like a sit rep of like what's already happening and how is he going to get his money kind of thing. Like he's
Oh, you
already
mean like
talked
that's
to
you
them.
mean like that's the first? You mean like that should be the first time he's contacting them?
Yes.
Okay.
It's shown that he's already contacted them of where they're going to be and like he's checking, hey, we're here, where are you going to be to get us kind of thing. Like he's already talked to them and it hasn't been shown Jane contacting them.
I mean, I guess I'm just fine with it being off screen because usually twist stuff are, and at least little twists like this.
Yeah.
It wasn't a major thing where you need a bunch of hints leading up to it at the episode.
Yeah, if they wanted to drop a singular hint for this in an earlier episode, it could have just been he kept the agent that they killed in the first episode. They kept his comm or something.
Yeah,
I guess.
I could totally buy that he just contacted them while they're on Serenity.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not like too on the fence over there. I'm just saying, like, yeah, there could be hints here and there, so it's not meant as a twist, more or less. It's would have some build up.
Yeah.
All right. That's fair.
Anyone got something they want to shoot at?
I like the introduction of the quote unquote agents.
Hands of Blue.
And yeah, the Hands of Blue was interesting.
Do you guys like them?
I found them creepy, which I guess was the point. Especially
the one. Word.
I say like because I dislike.
I mean, so
this is too robotic.
Can my issue that I had with them after it was like over, after I kind of got over the initial appearance of them and everything. My main issue, like, okay, so they have a device, right, that they hold out, and basically it makes people's brains explode.
What I interpret it as is that they're microwaving their brain.
Yeah. Isn't that like a really
they were
big
bleeding
red
from the
flag?
nails too?
Yeah, but them microwaving the brain will do that.
It would do that to your nails.
Yeah, it seems like there would, and we didn't see them, like, I'm sure they have a cleanup crew and everything, but like that seems like an overly messy way to like eliminate somebody for kind of such a tight or a tight cleanup organization. Just seems too messy, too long. Like, it seems like you would have something that would just be like fast and swift and would leave like almost no trace of evidence you have to clean up afterwards.
Yeah, something filmed quickly, so there's no screams through the hospital.
Yeah, and it seemed to, I don't know. I was like, it was cool. I mean, it was visually cool, but it didn't seem like it fit with kind of like the vibe they should have been giving off, which was this sort of, covert, quick and tidy kind of situation.
Yeah.
Rather than looking smart and threatening, they kind of became like a Jason Voorhees character where they just walk slowly, murdering people.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
it was just like really
used it on a knocked out guy.
Yeah, they also give up that chase rather quickly. Like when they arrive at the open door, granted we don't really sure how far ahead our crew is when they're getting away, but we know that they're close enough to hear the screams. So,
well, these guys are only a menacing walk, so they wouldn't catch up anyways.
Yeah, they're encumbered. That's why. Too many items there.
The one guy with the blue eyes is kind of like one of the main one of the two.
The bald one?
Yeah, well, they're both bald, but yeah, the immediate bald one was so creepy looking. He could have been like a vulture in a Spider-Man movie. He just looked.
I mean, they
so
do a good job
off-putting.
for casting. They're very, very off-putting just initially for us to understand, kind of like they're here to be really big antagonists.
Yeah, agreed.
I like them in concept. I have more issues with their execution. So.
Yeah, they bring up more
up.
questions than they answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Which would be fine in a much longer running show, but again, this is a product of the show being gutted because there's something that we would have eventually gotten far more answers.
Yeah, they would have been the big bad of season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Heist, you got anything?
Mr.
I think that's me. Malcolm's call on Jane was phenomenal. I thought that was awesome.
Just
hits
his
him
little
with the wrench.
interrogation.
Oh yeah, fucking great! Wow. That whole scene was great. I loved every second of it. Because there's a part of you that believes Mal would actually just let the the lack of atmosphere kill him. Absolutely. So there's like if you were watching this for the first time, you definitely believe Mal would kill Jane, like without a thought. So it's.
I thought he actually was going to until Jane said, "Tell the others something good."
Why? But why do you think that like changed his mind? Why do you think that out of because
well, it shows Jane's not completely selfish, I guess.
You mean why he would change Mal's mind? Okay.
Yeah. Why would
Because he is still part of the crew, and Malcolm's always for his crew.
I think this is like, if we're in their history, if we're to believe this is the first time that he's double crossed Mal, he might have the philosophy of like, you get second chances but not thirds kind of thing, where like this was meant to be a very, very sharp warning, and the apology Jane gives is from the heart at that point because he's gonna die. So I do think because Mal is shown to be somewhat not necessarily forgiving character and not necessarily shown to be entirely heartless, because of his more or less friendship with Jane or their camaraderie. I can see there is wiggle room here for him to want to spare him, because he doesn't want to also look for another gun for hire.
Yeah, there's some definitely. I mean, an ounce of self-preservation, or what's better for the whole versus just the the few. You got to have like kind of a necessary evil, I guess. Then have a lot of issues or something down the line. I was just curious how everybody else felt about it, because I was sort of on the fence of like I don't know. I didn't feel like it was necessarily earned for him to kind of get out of it almost.
Again,
for me, I liked it.
I really love the scene overall.
I mean, I liked it, but yeah,
I really love the scene overall. I will agree that it could have been made stronger if there was a more direct friendship link between the two of them. Because I'm trying to think of all the interactions that they had throughout the episodes. The only one that we have, again, I'm just going to go back to the end of Janestown episode, which is Mal's there to comfort him in his own way. So like Mal does show up for him when Jane is feeling particularly down.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to think of other really, really strong scenes like that show that they have more care for each other.
Him showing Vera in the Saffron episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. I always forget. I love Vera, best character. So
Vera.
Yeah. So like I said, I do really love it. Because it is a great scene, but I kind of get what you mean. Like there should be, you want more. Unironically, shockingly, we want more of this show. We want more Jane and Mel to have. In order to facilitate that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not against him not getting killed or all that, but I think that something was kind of missing as far as like an earned connection, I guess, to kind of keep him there, as because I'm not against him, because he is important for the show, and he's important, and he does have and I'm not saying like, oh yeah, he should be killed like automatically, because technically he didn't. Everybody was still fine, but he still betrayed him. But like, just something where like it would have expanded upon kind of why he got to stay, because I feel like anybody else, if like Simon had, ratted everybody out, he would have just been killed like right on the spot almost, But I also understand that like the necessity of keeping a doctor or some muscle or some, like no one on the ship is really interchangeable, like really quickly. So I understand that half of it, but Jane feels kind of like, okay, well, you could just hire some dumb muscle or something anywhere, so it doesn't seem like that much of a connection. But I'm just fine with it.
Okay. Spring, since you brought up that scene, was there anything else you wanted to say or your opinion on it? Anything on it?
No, that was kind of it. That was covered. I just like how fast that Mal already pieced everything together and waited until
everyone was
the
out.
majority and everyone was out before enacting on Jane. Otherwise, it would have been a bunch of questions.
Yeah. Nathan Fillion's acting too is really great in that scene, because you can see like him processing the pieces of the story that don't misunderstand. Like I mean before he gives his whole speech, like, you betrayed me, like you can see the subtlety in there as he's putting the pieces together of how things that don't quite fit, and almost realizing what happened just because of how everything turned out. So again, really great stuff.
I'll point out a couple conveniences. That helicopter, the plane, ambulance thing, whatever, the vessel they scavenged.
Yeah.
Them making that operational and look real. And
they buffed that off.
That was a day and a half. A day.
Yeah,
it was less than 2 days.
Was it? I was hoping that it was like a week that they were there, but yeah, if that's way too soon, if it's
because Inara's medical checkup was only for 2 days, so it had to have been less than 2 days.
See,
they're just that good.
I mean, she's a mechanical genius. So, yeah, I agree. Very convenient. One thing that would have fixed it is if all of them were working on it together at some point, like a group project. That would have been fun. Easy. It's easy to inject. A lot of banter too with that. So that's an easy fix if in a more refined version of this episode, I guess. But yes, convenient with what we have.
And then it was also convenient that they managed to find someone who could get them the passes and outfits that they needed for the hospital. It sounds like, we'll just find someone who can get us in and stuff. And like, okay. And they get a bag, and that's all right. We had some technical difficulties here, but we're back on track. We just talked about how convenient the heist was, and hopefully we covered it all.
Yeah.
So
some of it.
Yeah.
We'll just jump to the scanning machine. River's amygdala and our thoughts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was amygdala. Not 100% sure, but pretty sure it was amygdala. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was interesting because that was like, okay, well, we kind of get some more information about like what's sort of going on, and like what her, I guess, power, or her ability is. But I don't know. I found it weird that like. So obviously that was probably one of the main things. I don't we didn't get more as the show got canceled, but it was like saying like that they cut into her brain like 100 times or something, like like over and over again. I feel like that would. I don't know. I feel like they would be doing more than just like one thing, unless they were just like taking out her brain over and over again and like experimenting with it.
Yeah, my guess is they took it out, tampered it, put it back in, took it out, tampered it,
just kept messing with it. Yeah. I guess that's like the only. I don't know. Obviously, it's just to make it sound like really, really grotesque and unseemly. Because like why would you keep doing it like over and over again?
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, okay, well, they shaved, or like they shrunk her amygdala or her emotional, part of her brain and everything, but like, why did they do it like 100 other times? Like, what else was going on? So that was my thing.
Ryder, did you have any last points?
On the heist itself or the episode?
The episode.
Both.
Sure. I love it that Mal wrote notes down on his arm.
Yeah.
And then Zoe was just chucking everything in hers.
Very, very. It was very. It's a very small thing, but with all the added stuff, like them trying to rehearse the medical jargon, it makes sense that he would fucking write notes for himself.
Oh yeah. Cheat sheet. So I got through the academy.
Takes his job seriously.
Yeah. I do like that. Like they came across like one responsible, like orderly guy, and just knocked him out.
Maybe overly responsible.
Yeah, overly. Yeah, a little overly responsible, maybe. Follow me. Do you see this badge? I am over you.
I'm the doctor.
I am the captain now. Yeah, to his own fault, was too into his job. They met the one guy who knew the layout of the hospital, I guess.
Yeah. The last thing I got is Jane was stupid for believing in the Alliance and his deal.
Yeah, I don't know what that was a. Yep. Yeah. Can't really defend that one.
I can't explain it away. It was just stupid.
Especially since
what do you mean you're not going to pay me?
Especially since he's been traveling with Mal for so long, it does make him painfully stupid.
Yeah, everyone knows what the Alliance is and what they do. I don't know why you'd believe him.
Because he was blinded by his not liking of River, I guess. I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
Spink said he was done before the.
I did. I think my points were covered of importance.
So we will go to ratings. Ryder.
I gave this one a 8. Can you make sure to scan through my notes here?
Yeah.
Yes, this one's an 8. I gave it a subjective 9 because I really liked the episode.
I originally had an 8.5 objective. I bumped it down to an 8 and a subjective 8.5. Sinister.
Yeah, I had this closer with the episode 8, and but we point out enough here where I think I'm going to give it a 8 overall.
Brinks.
Objective 7.5, subjective 8.5.
Okay, sweet. All right, and we are on episode 10, War Stories.
Another classic.
Yes, all 14 of these are classics.
Yeah, all 14 are of an era that's gone by.
Sprinks, you want to start this one
off? So 10. I like the little. It's not necessarily cute, but the story of apple grenades.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very morbid, funny story, but it's believable.
I like
more expensive.
I like that they set it up like it's almost going to be like that that World War I story about like the Americans and the Germans or whatever, or the the two opposing sides having a Christmas like
Christmas together.
Yeah, and then the next day they go back to shooting each other, and this is like just the total opposite of just like, oh yeah, then they just gave us bombs.
I don't think I'm familiar with that story.
You don't know?
That's very famous.
The Christmas guy doesn't know one of the most famous Christmas stories of all time.
All right, I'll link you something. After
okay, I think I know a different one.
In the trenches of France, I think.
Yeah, I know one that's like that. That's familiar, but not necessarily the beats that
maybe
Sir just went over.
Maybe there was like 7.
2 years. I mean, it was a long war. Who knows?
Yeah,
only have
it could have been
one, so-
multiple.
All right. Yeah. Good. Grenade
Yeah.
food. Yes.
I
writer?
like that.
Oh,
Can I
go ahead.
piggyback off that just one last thing?
Sure.
I like that as she's going, Wash knows the ending and is trying to stop her from finishing the actual story because of how
He's
gruesome.
jelly.
Oh, I
and-
thought I read it more as he just didn't want the kids to know.
I think he just doesn't like hearing her war stories anymore
Oh,
because he connects it with Malcolm.
Yeah, I
the
thought-
mental dick.
I thought Wash was a bit irritating in this scene, and it's mostly because
Yeah.
because I mean, like, he would be used to Zoe's war stories, so I know he's trying to lighten the mood, but it rubs me the wrong way, which is only made worse by the scene afterwards once we realize the jealousy he has.
So I know there's a little bit of backstory for kind of I think a little bit of this episode, because the Fox or whatever, whoever was in charge at a smaller scale at Fox, I'm not sure, wanted them to like have like fights and basically like
Oh yeah, he wanted
divorce.
to fight
Yeah.
her.
So I think this was sort of a way to kind of have some of that, but not like go all the way with it, which is respectable in a way, but kind of it kind of seems like comes out of nowhere or kind of comes out of nowhere and sort of just leaves kind of a little bit of a bad taste because it seems like not something that would actually happen.
Like, see, once again, in a 22
This late in
episode
it.
show, if this was in like
Yeah.
the first like 5 or 6 episodes where we're still learning about these characters, this would probably be better placed.
Yeah, but like by like 4 episodes left of the season, and you're doing this
because of that. The pacing is odd. I agree.
Yeah.
I still like the intention. Like, I'm okay with this because as a way to convey to your audience that there's really never going to be an issue, this is a good episode to do that. But it feels, because of how short the show is, it feels very late.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, I brought up in part 1 that I found Wash annoying. This was the episode that did it for me the first time I watched it.
That's fair. Yeah, he's annoying in the first half of this episode. I think he's much better in the second half.
He gets better.
Once they got the whole bond and everything, it's definitely better. So a little petty stuff is annoying. So I'm taking Zoe's place on this trip. Yep. All right, let's go.
I
don't know some war songs.
I really loved Mal third wheeling for the two of them.
It's
The
just
look on his face is hilarious.
like, okay, what are we doing here? What's going on? We're supposed to be like smugglers and stuff. Why are we doing this bullshit? Come on. I don't know. Okay, but here's an interesting thing, right? So he pairs up with Mal instead of, and kicks Zoe, off of the team or, for the mission and everything. Shouldn't he be bonding with like his wife? Like, isn't that sort of like part of the issue is that she has this like war bond with him? So like, wouldn't you want to like create that, I guess, with your partner and not like with your partner's like military partner?
I saw it as he wanted to be the alpha and just tell Malcolm kind of knock it off.
I saw it more as he just felt like he's missing out on a very he's already missed a lot of her life.
I guess.
So the fact that Mal has a lot of history with her bugs him because he's been there longer for Zoe.
It is interesting.
Which is a natural jealousy to feel, which is why I'm not 100% against the idea of this episode.
It works. It's just it's coming in a little bit later than probably it should be.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say against it is it comes a little bit too late, I think, for it to do a lot of what it's setting up or trying to do here. But no, I was also going to say that just it's interesting to me that he has such a big problem with Mal because Mal isn't the one continuously telling like war stories or stuff like that. It's his it's Zoe, it's his wife. But I guess I understand where you're coming from though, in the way of like that technically Mal is the alpha of the situation, and he needs to kind of match. So I can see the sense of it.
Sprinks, what are your thoughts on Wash in this episode?
Kind of sudden, because it hasn't really been hinted at, and that he just gets along with Mal and Zoe and the relationship that they have of general and or not general, captain and I guess first mate or
He was sergeant. He was a sarge.
okay.
I don't know
Well,
what
their
she's
position, their
lieutenant.
positions from Serenity, and then their past of war together.
Yeah.
So long-winded history, but just the sudden kind of spark of jealousy out of Wash. It's not aggressive to the point of really setting down what he wants, kind of thing, but it is okay to me of just trying to change things up and maybe get a little better understanding of Mao and how he sees Zoe, or trying to express his feelings a little more to the crew. So yeah, I thought it was okay, but it was a bit sudden.
Yeah.
Especially for starting the episode of going into it rather than kind of like a halfway point where it would cut to like a commercial break and then kind of building it a little more. I think would have been a lot better, especially if it was contained in just one episode. But
I mean, like, Wash is known for snide remarks. If he had made snide remarks in earlier episodes about the relationship, it wouldn't have felt as sudden. It would just felt like this was the boiling point.
Yeah,
I feel like he did mention.
Yeah, he has.
A couple times.
He has.
Yeah, war stuff
but there was
bothering him.
But it was far between.
But like,
I think
it's not.
It wasn't
it was
on the
thing,
surface problem.
It was one
kind
thing
of
for it to be like the complaining about the war thing to then complaining about the relationship thing. Because in this instance, he's complaining. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this right. So one of the scene I really do like is that they're in the cockpit and they communicate their problems to each other. Like, they actually have a good talk it out so they can see each other's perspectives to a degree. The problem is that because of that scene, I don't see he has necessarily a problem with the war stories. He has a problem with the relationship. Him complaining about the war stories earlier on didn't really correlate to me to the relationship with Mel, because that was facilitated separately. So
yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I agree. It works here. It does. The problem is it just feels sudden. Still, that's the issue that I take with
it. I'll pose a question first to Sprinks and then the other two. If Wash didn't take up the job and it was Zoe and Malcolm, how do you think this episode would have changed, if at all?
Wash definitely wouldn't have gone after them alone.
We would have seen a lot of Wash going around in the crew, because Wash would have definitely been the focal point. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm hold on. I'm interrupting your time, Sprinks. Go.
Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I just think Wash would have gone either with a small band or the whole crew to go get them back, rather than Zoe going unarmed alone, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I think it would have been a little more aggression of getting them back together than playing the game of like you get to choose one kind of deal.
Yeah.
I don't think Wash would have stood for that.
Yeah, Wash would have gone in guns blazing.
Yeah, it was interesting that they had the freaking mafioso guy come back.
I'm glad we managed to see him with this shortened season, because that was one of my complaints in the first half. Was he seemed like he was going to be a big bad, and I didn't know if we were going to see him again, and we did.
We did.
And he still got away.
Yeah, miraculously, we're only a few punches in. The torture
Malcolm really
got
easy
way
on
worse.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was wounded and stuff, so that's a factor. But I would have loved to see him just destroy that little man.
Yeah, but yeah, because he was. I just love. It's probably one of my favorite things because it's always how it works, and or how it should work in most things. Like you have this like kind of little guy, and he's got this like imposing thing about him in the way of just like we have ways of making you talk and that kind of that kind of stuff. And then the second they're like outmatched just by the like having their like stuff taken away, or like just have an actual like opponent, they just shrink and just turn into like cowards. And he just like he just like dissolved, like all like this creepy scariness of him just totally disappeared as soon as Mal just like got the bodyguard away.
I really like the transition to him too, with the preacher and the doc talking about the same warrior poet, and then cutting to
and then he's
doing the same thing. He's just
you realize
enacting it.
Yeah, you realize
familiar with the works of Shan Yu.
Yeah. And I like how Mal keeps Wash from breaking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just then constantly antagonizing him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get myself a piece of that.
Being very uncharacteristically vulgar. It's awesome.
Anything to keep Wash awake.
Yeah. But they just like stabbing him like over and over again at the end there. Was that just like what they were doing? I was trying to figure out what was going on because he was just,
after they resurrected him. Or?
No, after like Zoe comes with like all the money they made from the heist, medicine heist and everything, and picks Wash and does it like split second, takes Wash. They're when it's just like Mal there, aren't they just like stabbing him like repeatedly, like really close or something?
No, they cut off his ear.
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. And then they put that like torture device on his chest and kills him.
For like,
but I didn't see any stabbing or slashing outside of the.
They were just like really close on him and like kind of like making impacts, but I wasn't sure if they were stabbing him or if they were punching him. But it would seem kind of like after you do electroshocks on somebody, punching them kind of seems like not the same level.
I think they did a good subversion in this episode where, like you brought up, the pick one of them.
Yeah.
And he was going to do this whole speech of, "Oh, this is a big decision," and she just cuts him off. And
he thought it was going to be Sophie's choice, but really it was Dude, Where's My Car?
I love that she just apologizes and like, "Oh, sorry, did I interrupt you or something?"
Yeah. Was it supposed to be some big decision?
Yeah, she just like wrecked him. He was you could just see in his face. Yeah,
it works in like also several different levels because of the people in there, Wash was going to be the one that broke first, as we know. So it's multi-layered in what she's getting her husband, so to affirm that relationship to us, the audience, and two, it's also the correct logical choice to make.
Yeah, because no way Wash is going to survive on his own. Mm-hmm. He would have been dead in seconds.
Even Wash died.
Yeah, even Mal died.
Sorry.
Sorry, you got Wash mouth.
Yeah, I screwed that up.
You look silly.
Sprinks. Something.
Something.
Wow.
When they went down below to check where they got captured. Was Zoe, Book. Who was the third one?
Jane.
When the three went down, was Book simply there just to share his knowledge about sharpshooters? Seemed kind of.
I guess technically,
I'll go along, and that's the only thing he shared and helped with.
Yeah, it's a little. I mean, I'm happy he contributed, but again, I assumed it would have been part of like the history of the preacher that we don't understand.
Especially, well, I agree, Ryder. Especially with the start of this being the Sun Tzu quote that is connected between.
Yeah, I assumed
both
he
the
would
bad
have.
guy and so
For me, this was the clearest like hint that he was at one point an interrogator or something for the Alliance.
I'm like, I was hoping to get a little backstory
Yeah,
or
it
something
is.
more.
It is a bit of.
Yeah, you're not gonna.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a
Hard bait.
what we call in our line of work, we call it a juicy dangler. You juice them up and you leave them dangling.
They did make a Shepherd book comic series covering his whole backstory.
Does it answer the questions that it didn't answer?
It does.
What was he?
That's spoilers.
Is it canonical?
It is
Yeah.
canon, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, most of the Firefly comics are canon, I would hope.
Until Fox says otherwise, or sorry, Disney says otherwise.
Oh, Disney.
Okay.
Sorry, a little off topic on the question. Is this Disney owned now?
It is
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, because they own Fox.
Yeah, they got far.
That's why it's on Hulu, because they have a deal.
It's true. Welcome to the future.
Sad world.
Anyways, back to
Yeah.
torture. Yeah.
Back to the show. I liked everyone's reaction to the ear.
Yeah, they're like, oh my god.
What is that?
Yeah, what?
Pretty good.
And Jane's like, so are we going to clone him? Which I guess shows that that's a possibility in this world.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stupidity of Jane.
I don't know if he's trying to be. I don't think he was trying to be jokey. I think he was just being Jane.
That's the spinoff,
we'll
just
never
being
know.
Jane.
I'd watch that. I'd watch that. Just being Jane.
The instant on the Jane bandwagon.
Solid
Just
show.
Jane. Just Jane. That would have been a good. Hey, they could have done like that. Could have been a good special feature on the DVD. Just him like reacting to the episodes. Just Jane.
Man, I really like myself in this one.
Yeah, boy, I look pretty good in that hat.
Preacher's ripped as fuck because he's he's bench pressing.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that was a weird, weird thing. Wait, is this one with the female senator or the female
yes,
Congress?
This is that episode.
I thought that was going to be a lot more in depth than it ended up being.
That's one of the downsides to this episode, I think, is
Hey,
how underdeveloped it is.
We get some excellent jokes from Jane. But yes, it is very
I'll be down in my bunk.
I'm going to be down in my bunk.
Yep.
Twice.
Yep. But I agree. Very underdeveloped side of this episode, for sure.
Yeah, I thought that was, I mean, they kind of call back to it at the end where, it was like, oh, I got a senator's help or something, like, oh.
Yeah, like,
but she was just there to fix his ear, pretty much. That's all it was.
Yeah. It was,
all the guns and gear that they get.
And I guess fan service,
Oh yeah, and
everybody wanted to see some little companion on senator action, I guess. I don't know. They hadn't used her in a while. They hadn't used companion service in a while. Don't snort at me.
That was a burp, actually.
Oh.
Anyways, out to the shootout.
The famous shootout.
Yeah, where Simon couldn't kill anything, apparently, according to the Shepherd. And River did one of the coolest things of the show to me. Closing her eyes and shooting 3 people.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
I am the most powerful in the verse.
Yeah. Which I didn't catch the first time. The second time, it was a callback to when her and Kaylee were running around.
Yeah, with apples.
With the apple, yeah. I didn't get that the first time.
Well, you got it the second time, didn't you?
I did. I liked it even more.
Yeah. I liked it even more.
I do like it quite a bit. Yeah, I like that Shepherd is also just kneecapping the fuck out of people. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
that stunt guy was insane.
I wrote something about that.
Yeah.
Oh,
kneecap everyone.
Did he do a torso shot or something?
Yeah, he shoots a guy right in the chest.
He had armor on.
He said he was going to kneecap him because there was nothing about the Bible or, whatever that said you couldn't. And then he shoots a guy.
Well, actually, some knees are in the chest. They're really high up there.
I'm not going to blink at that one. The situation at that point had escalated, so...
I don't remember it, but yeah.
You want them to keep consistency?
No, that one stunt guy who got shot in the knee and then face planted on the 4-wheeler.
That was hilarious.
That had to have hurt.
I would
pretty legit.
I really hope somebody gifts that, because I would loop that. Yeah, please.
Anyone else got anything on the shootout?
Hey, I meant to read this up. Crimson, they OODA looped him. Remember our whole rubber duck conversation?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They fucking OODA looped him, which is with the ATV. It was hilarious. Also good combat tactics. Obviously, I think shootout is mostly gimmicky, but at that point it's early 2000s, so I was okay.
Yeah. You were saying, Springs?
If one could share what an OODA loop is to myself and probably 99% of the audience listening.
Yeah, please.
OODA loop is essentially it's supposed to reset your cognitive function. So, an example of what OODA loop is okay. Here's one. So Crimson's going to make mac and cheese. Let's say
as he does,
as he does. Let's say I then, as he's preparing his mac and cheese, throw a rubber duck at him. He then has to acknowledge that I threw a rubber duck at him. So, like, your brain has to process that fact. So, essentially, like, in a combat situation, the idea is people will throw, instead of the flashbang, they'll throw a rubber duck into the room. Because the reality is, your brain then has to reset after you acknowledge the fact that it was a rubber duck. Because if it's a flashbang, you're expecting that. But if it's a motherfucking rubber duck, you do not expect that. So an OODA loop it resets your cognitive function because it works on every person no matter what. We're all susceptible to it. It's just a human thing.
And the little science lesson in there.
Yeah.
Human science lesson.
If you want to I can go in more depth, but that's just the basics of it. So
I listen. I would love to, but we got like 4 other episodes we got to get through.
Yeah. Are you okay with that, Springs? Is that satisfying?
I mean, it's good enough for me. I'm sure if someone has more information they want out of you, they will let you know.
Yeah. Let us know in LetterBox, please. That's how we answer any and all science questions.
Yeah. Anyone else got anything?
I like that when they all get to him finally at like the very end. They're like, "No, Cap's gonna do this on his own," and he's like, "What? No, I'm not." And then they all shoot.
The Cap needs to do this on his own. Like, no,
he
doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
That was pretty good. Then that was probably the worst CG of the show. The guy falling to his death.
Definitely
that was some of the
show.
worst. Yeah.
Yeah, even for that time, that was not good.
But I do like. I do like the subversion though, like because that's that's a cliche. That's what most shows would do. Is that no? It needs to be mono. The captain's clearly. It's
the age-old, which is still probably my favorite scene, and it's something where you can do it in pretty much anything, and it works. It's not like a one-and-done thing, but you instantly know it when you see it. It's like the Indiana Jones, the sword fight, and he just shoots him. That's what that is. Like it's such a subversion that it catches you off guard because you're so used to it as a plot device that it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen. Then it's like, no, you're just gonna shoot the guy.
Yeah, I'll do that in the pilot and in the second one.
And in the actual sword fight, kind of, almost.
Cheap shot. Okay. Yes. Anything else?
I like that Kaylee didn't shoot anybody. She couldn't do it. I thought they were going to do something with it, and they subverted my expectations.
I like how she's afraid of River now.
I know. I like the immediate. She's a good actress because I immediately knew exactly what was going on. That she was deathly afraid, and then she's avoiding her later on.
Yeah, very good switch.
Yeah, which, not to single anybody out, but yeah, I think it's a fairly common thing if you see somebody that you thought you knew, and then they do something like that. It's a very
kill 3 people to protect you just out of nowhere.
yeah, it's hard thing to accept. Takes a while. Takes the rest of a season sometimes.
Ryder, you got anything else?
I really like the slice of life stuff that we get a lot in the beginning of the episode. So River and Kaylee chasing each other at the beginning of this episode. That is this.
Yeah,
episode,
that was nice.
Them chasing each other. For me, it's like another one of those. They're all playing that basketball hoop game, like in the cargo bay. It's great slice of life. I really loved it. So it helps to show the fact that they're spending so much time together. They're all bonding together.
Yeah, I agree.
I guess the last thing for me is, what are the odds that the planet they go to for the medicine on the other side is Nishka's space station?
I thought it was odd that Zoe just identifies him. Oh, I know who's got space stations.
Well, that can't be too many. But that's also true.
Yeah, I mean, if
there's thousands of planets or whatever that they've terraformed to a bunch of different Earths, it's a bit of a stretch for me.
Yeah. So Nishka, the way he got introduced in this, not good. Take it. Wow, we can't engage.
Yeah.
And Sprinks, did you have anything?
I still think it's funny the comedic sci-fi noises that come out of the guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree.
It's funny because some of those are like it's like a sound bank or something, and the other ones of them they're ones they made specifically for like the show, and they stick out like a sore thumb.
I do love the final scene of this episode where Zoe and Washiv are doing better, and then Mel not necessarily ruins the moment, but throws the jokes out there.
Oh yeah. So your husband said that we need to sleep together, make sure everything is on the up and up. Like, no, I didn't.
Take me now and take me hard.
Yeah, I love how awkward they are when they try to kiss each other. Prove to the audience it's not, it's never going to happen. It's one of those things that was. It's definitely a good trope to get out of the way in the first season. Like if this was going to go on longer.
Because you can. I mean, even like I think somebody that's not at all exposed to television can kind of get the gist of like, oh, they served in a war together. There's definitely some sort of sexual tension or some romantic tension going on, and I think just to kind of get rid of that and just wait. It's like, no, it's a mutual respect, platonic relationship. There's nothing involved. It's good. Would have been nicer if they got it in an earlier episode, but you know what? I'll still give it to him. It was well written, for the most part.
And then I guess the final touch for me is just Jane hitting Malcolm, even though he knows what happened to him. Like at the very last second of our characters on screen.
Oh, yeah. Funny Jane.
Plain Jane.
We shall go to ratings, Ryder.
Let's see. This was episode 10?
Yep.
Okay. I gave this one objectively a 7.5, subjectively an 8.
All right, close to me. I gave it an objective 7 and subjective 8. Sinister.
I'm gonna give this one a 7 overall.
And Sprinks.
Objective 7, subjective 6.5.
Man, even the torture didn't do it for you, huh?
They needed to be more visceral with it, more explanation. What was going on? What was that hose thing? They never had the hose thing before.
No, the problem is it doesn't have a magical Kino score. Okay, that's
fine. Oh, I did bring up the prosthetic covering his real ear wasn't that good.
Oh yeah, no, it
Sure.
wasn't.
Makeup department, not the best.
Listen, they had a lot of budget in that episode. That whole space station probably cost like $1 million.
Well, yeah, they had to make a pretty decent sized set for them. Anyways, episode 11, trash.
Yes, the first one that Crimson said is meh.
Yeah, it's an meh. Anything sounding like that episode.
Anything called trash is obviously exactly what it says it is. Trash.
Yeah, we get Saffron or Bridget
Saffron returns.
or Yolanda,
Yeah, look,
depending on who you ask.
I refuse to accept Yolanda as the name. Does not scream Yolanda.
Sorry to all those people named Yolanda.
Listen, I like Yolanda as a name. It just does not fit. Saffron just works. She looks like a saffron.
I will say the hard cut at the opening of this episode was definitely a good hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot more Nathan Fillion than I thought I would have seen in my life.
That, you know what? I will say that was probably my favorite part of the episode was just how they just started off just like that. That was a good way to just
like,
kind of get into
well.
it. Yeah. Yeah, that went well.
And at the end where he's just so proud of himself.
Yeah,
his
walking
hands
around
over
naked.
the back of his head.
Yep.
Stretching out,
I
showing
mean,
everybody his ding dong.
Well, I mean, he at that point he was. I took that to mean that he was playing it off and acting because he had to be that way to assume that everything went according to plan. When the whole. I think the stripping him part was the part that surprised him. So
Yeah,
definitely wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think he had to play it off that well. He had to play it off like that in order to convince the crew that he intended to do it.
I like how everyone handled it.
Yeah.
Kaylee's like, "All right, Captain, good job."
Yeah, hey, good job on the average sized penis, huh? Yeah, thanks.
Was that deleted scene?
Yeah, that was my deleted scene. Yeah.
I do have to point out that it was the opening of this episode where he meets his war buddy.
With the mustache.
It's the space cowboy outfit from Castle.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow, that was in one episode,
and he got it. He recognized it.
I didn't think he watched. Oh yes, on the nudity at the end. I saw. I guess I saw this on the internet. I'll use Sprinks' little warning. I don't know how true this is, but apparently those reactions were genuine because he put a sock with Joss Whedon's face on the end of it.
I honestly, I believe that. I believe it.
See,
even if it's not true, I believe it.
Those are the best kinds of stories.
Yeah, you can't get those kind of on-set stories no more.
No.
I think
trouble.
I think the most recent sock story.
Okay, specific here.
That comes out of it comes from Game of Thrones. Jason Momoa wore like a pink fluffy bunny.
Oh yeah. I do, yeah.
For his scenes with Emilia Clarke, and they had to cut filming because she couldn't stop laughing.
I mean, how could you not? It's
I mean, it's the complete opposite of the character he's playing. I would have a hard time as a director keeping a straight face.
Yeah. It's just silly.
Brinks. You got something?
Yeah,
you want to talk about
the close-ups in this episode.
Well, yeah, they had to avoid the, stuff.
What stuff?
The
space stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Very descriptive, you two. Thank you.
They're trying to avoid the birds and bees. Okay.
His penis. His John Thomas. He wasn't naked the whole episode.
He was naked for a good amount of the episode. He was naked for more than you would normally be naked. Yeah.
Now that we got the horny out of the way, where do we want to take it?
Yeah.
Did you have any specific scenes or anything, Sprinks?
There was a part where where Malcolm had a conversation with. Shoot, who was it with? I I don't think it was with Inara. He had a conversation with someone. It was just a one-on-one, and they both just kept getting really close-ups on their face. Maybe it was Inara, and it was just close-ups on their face, and it wasn't all. And it wasn't a lot of the scenery of where they were, and it was just weird to me. I don't know if it was used to just intensify their emotions to one another, and it would have been probably weirder if it was only in that one scene. But there was more close-ups later of discussing Saffron back and the plan going on. It was just this episode just had an overuse of close-ups, in my opinion.
When you say close-up, what's the crop?
From
like nipple up or
neck up.
Nipple up.
It wasn't extreme close-ups where it was like just the eyes or just a mouth. It was just a head. It wasn't a lot of from chest up.
Can we say nipple up instead of chest up from now on, please?
You can.
Chest is pretty big.
I'm not stopping you.
Yeah, but yeah, fine. Yeah, but nipples are very also, so
they have a general location. I guess I didn't really catch it.
Yeah, I wasn't paying.
It wasn't so prevalent that it caught me off guard or anything. So I guess good observation. I can't really comment on it.
Good observation.
Ryder, you got anything?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm digesting Springs' point because I'm just running my head through the episode. I'm like, yeah, I think there are.
Oh, I thought you were eating something. Jesus.
No.
Bury the bone.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Springs is right. It was noticeable to me in the room with Inara because of how small the space is. But yeah, I didn't really notice it anywhere else.
But in past episodes in her own area, they've had
wide
like
shots.
the whole. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
Again, I brought this up before we started recording, but I was surprised that they had a very diverse group of like different people directing it, which in and of itself is not that strange, but it was interesting to me that they had a lot of people that didn't like end up doubling up at some point. It was all fairly different people, so that might be another reason why.
Yeah, it could just be his preferred style.
Yeah.
I mean, any close-ups on characters of them acting, and they're great actors, I'll always take, just because it's nice to see them do a good job.
Yeah. 50% of acting is all in the face. Yeah. 75% of all acting is in the face. And the body.
Let's see. 25%. Did you have anything right outside of Springs' point?
Sure. No, not yet. Get pass it to someone else.
Okay, Sinister.
Passing the baton off to me. All right, I can talk my way out of a paper bag. I liked that. It wasn't so much the dishonestness, but the fact that she made him trim his beard, that made him really mad at her.
Poor soup catcher.
Poor soup catcher.
Rip soup catcher.
We've all been there.
Sprinks, did you write what he said?
I did not.
Do you recall what he said?
No.
It was like soup catcher or something. Yeah, it was something.
He did call his beard a soup catcher.
She devil.
Yeah,
it was Malcolm who said he shaved off his soup catcher.
Soup catcher was used. Let's just be aware of that. That was soup catcher was used, which is not a. I don't know. It's a gross way to say beard, I guess. Yeah, that was, and then the whole debate about I didn't really even understand the heist. I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of got lost in this episode. Didn't really understand what was going on. The heist of, was it a laser gun?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a prototype. First one.
Yeah. A Lassiter pistol.
A Lassiter pistol. Yeah. Lassiter pistol.
There's only two in existence.
Only two in existence. He has one of them, and it doesn't work apparently. Yeah, so it was interesting. I was trying to, after after the last Saffron episode, you're kind of trying to spot the con, or trying to figure out what's going on as far as like the motivations and stuff. I couldn't even like looking for it. I couldn't spot the deception. I guess.
I thought the deception was the fact that, well, I mean, the reveal is that the reason she has all this information is because she was married to the guy.
Yeah, which
is unsurprising.
Who in the solar system
but...
isn't? Come on.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, it's one thing. I guess you get closer if you're, married or what have you. That kind of, you're privy to more information that way. But it does seem like how many people can you get married to? But it seems like you can just like date somebody or whatever and get the information. You don't have to marry them every single time.
She married Malcolm in a night. It doesn't take too long.
A night.
Doesn't have to be a long con.
Well, this one was a long con, as far as we're aware. We don't really know that much, but yeah. I don't know. This one was really complicated. I'm trying to. So they had to get the plan was to get because the only way to get it, because it was tagged, so you couldn't get it outside of any of the doors or anything. Yep. So you had to put it through the trash bin, which was automated for pickup immediately, which seems like that's kind of a I don't know. That's kind of a because
I don't know if it's immediate or a routine.
Yeah, it was kind of hard to
that was
tell.
A world building problem. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like they said it was immediate as soon as it went in there. Like there was a sensor or something, but who knows? Maybe it was just like, well, it's likely it'll be picked up or something. I don't know. So they had that, and then they had to reprogram it. Does somebody want to tag out? I'm losing the focus here.
So the garbage also incinerates when it picks up.
Yeah, in like 15 or 30 seconds or something.
Yeah, so it would have incinerated the gun. They had to reprogram it so it didn't do that, and to send it to the desert where they're gonna take the gun out.
Yeah, there you go.
Saffron hooked up or just got the codes from the security guy 6 years ago when she was married to
what's his name? Yeah,
Hamer.
What's his face? Hamer. Heiner.
So she got all the codes from him. I would think they'd be outdated, being 6 years old. So kind of, I think, a problem in that regards. He didn't upgrade security or just change passwords or anything.
No, he had great security. He couldn't take anything outside.
One of the richest people in the galaxy here didn't upgrade security in 6 years.
And what happens? The plan goes awry, doesn't it?
Yeah. Now we're going scene by scene. So let's.
This is a complicated heist. What do you want? Springs.
Yes. Hi. I was letting Sinister finish up his thought. It's quite a plot armor device that she's married to everyone.
Yeah, it seems to be her one trick.
It would be better surprised if she wasn't married to someone. Like a random person.
I guess.
Yeah, I think it would have worked better if the first time we meet her in the beginning of this episode is that she isn't married to his friend. That way, we know she doesn't do this for every person.
I don't know if my problem is that she just marries everybody.
My problem isn't that
I don't have an issue with her marrying people. I'm just like, I could have wanted a little more diversity. It's not a huge issue.
Yeah.
It's more of a nitpick for me.
I don't have so much of an issue, with I was like, oh yeah, well, she's like married to everybody. It seems like at a certain point you could just kind of get away with not having to be married, to have the same sort of thing. But it's not my biggest issue. Probably my biggest issue is just that you kind of knew before it happened that, oh well, yeah, she's gonna be married to the guy or something. Like that's, and then what is he? Oh, she was married to the guy. Awesome.
I guess I'm a fool. I didn't expect her to be married to the guy they were robbing. I found it Like, what are the odds that she was married to someone Malcolm knew? The beard guy.
Bit of a stretch.
Yeah, that was kind of. Though,
What are
the only
the
reason
odds?
the only reason I knew that was coming was I saw when he first like landed, or there's a bunch of people like loading shit or whatever.
Mhm.
That there was a lady that looked a lot like her, and I was like, oh, they're purposely like not showing her like really close so you don't guess it, and then it turned out it wasn't her at all. So
yeah. I got something. I like their.
share your truth.
I like that they're. I like the when they're planning the heist. Like they're exchanging information about the job. I love Wash's just outburst. It's like, who the hell is she? What is she doing here?
Yeah. Well,
Last I
showed
checked,
her.
we were in space. How'd she get here?
Yeah. Wash's reaction being rationally human. Fucking loved it. And then I also love the fact that Zoe just fucking punches her. Well, actually, everyone.
I like the callback to her first introduction and that she's inside of a case. Was that not?
Well, we saw her kind of just behind boxes.
Yeah.
When we first
now
saw
she was in
her,
a box.
Yeah, now she was in a box.
Jane got electrocuted.
Yeah, poor Jane. He almost slid off and died.
I was kind of I thought he would slip off.
There weren't that many Janeisms in this.
No. The closest thing was when he was like bodyguarding them, or bodyguarding like River and Simon, and he's trying to play cards with them or whatever. And he kind of had like that sort of little bit. And they found out that he was a liar.
I don't know. Someone else got something?
I like intense, threatening Simon. To me, it wasn't necessarily out of character, but it was just a cool difference to see.
Yeah, they kept it in character, I think, which took a little bit away from like the scariness of it, but it worked still. So I preferred that it worked versus that it was really had to be really scary.
Oh yeah, when Jane is immobilized at his whim.
Yeah, he was like, "Listen, I will always operate on you, but my sister, on the other hand."
I like that River just leans in the table. I'll kill you. What does she say? She leans into the room.
I can kill you with my mind.
Yeah, I can kill you with my mind.
And his eyes widen.
And then she just leaves, and he's just left alone, and he's like, "Oh fuck." Yeah, that was great.
That was pretty funny.
Pretty funny. Good Jainism, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else happen? Well, I guess we got to get to the finale of this. That was kind of a little bit of plot armor.
To explain.
Well, okay, so freaking, they get the Lassiter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the shuttle, and of course, Mal gets double crossed by freaking Saffron or Yolanda or whatever. And then she's, and then you just think, oh, well, that's it. She's gonna just go get her victory, whatever. And then gets to the garbage, and she's going through it, and then there comes, Oriole. Not
Inara.
Inara. Fucking damn it.
Ariel's a planet.
Damn it. Now, I didn't say Ariel, though. I said Oriole, because I was like, Ariel's the planet, so it's got to be something close, but whatever. She's there, and it was like, oh, I knew what was going on the entire time. Like, I was like, I got you. Just give me the thing. This is my, or like, no, like, she's got the last already, and then she closes the fucking bin on her.
I do have a question. So,
yes.
The last scene with Saffron, was her story true?
When she was talking to Malcolm?
Well, yeah, when like Malcolm was like decoding her or whatever.
Yeah, like when Malcolm decoded her and she was crying, and obviously he gets duped enough to get his gun stolen. But I was curious if you think
All
that
part of the
final
plan.
story was part of the.
Yeah,
Or
I think so because the truth always catches us the most off guard. So
I honestly think it is an amalgam. I do think it leans to truth because it was a way to facilitate what she wanted, which was to get Malcolm's sympathy, if only for a moment.
yeah, because she realized that there was no way she could, use a trick or anything to kind of, slip him up. She had to actually be honest, and so yeah,
Well,
and it worked.
she fooled you, husband number 4, Sinister.
Fooled you.
Yeah, I couldn't tell either way, definitively.
And Springs.
I'm sorry.
Did you not pay
Uh,
attention? What's going on?
Saffron's story
Her last
that
one.
made her cry. Yeah, talking to Malcolm. Did you believe it as true or not?
Gosh, to be honest, I never thought of thinking of it true or not. I was kind of just over Saffron at that point. Whatever she came, I'm gonna say no because whatever came out of her mouth was just kind of a lie. There's nothing she held or said that had an actual weighted meaning of truth. So I'm gonna say no.
All right. Just I was just curious. So
She never proved to on screen.
Proved. Interesting.
Incompetent alliance once again.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Pointed out.
yeah.
I'll do that.
I mean, they so far, with the exception of the Blue Hand guys, they've so far been proven to be somewhat incompetent.
Yeah, I do like that Saffron went for the rifle on Mel. Just pulled her away from it.
Yeah.
He's like, nope.
Solid.
Which was in character for him. He's like, yeah, that's not going to be aimed at me later.
Did any of you guys expect Saffron getting duped in this by the crew?
No.
Yeah.
I thought she was going to totally get away or something, or there was going to be some sort of half victory, or like kind of in the last one where she got away, but she didn't really in her last introduction.
When I first watched that, no, but having watched it again, there's a little more build up to that, so I appreciated it more. So the first time I was definitely duped, or in that the whole crew was in on it.
Thanks.
I thought that they would get her and it would be fine because this is a character we've already shown who's already gotten the upper hand on the Serenity crew before. I think this episode would have been far worse if she did get away again.
Yeah, I
Because
was.
it does seem the Serenity crew does learn from their mistakes.
Yes, they are smart.
Smart.
Yeah, I was hoping they were tricking her because I didn't want Malcolm to come off as stupid.
Yeah, no,
So-
I obviously hope they were tricking her too. Just
Yeah.
waiting for the confirmation, I guess.
Well, I mean, he was stupid because he ended up naked, but
That was the
Yeah, he was
one
happy
part.
about it.
That was the one part.
yeah, that was the one part he didn't plan for. Yeah. So it was the part you don't plan for that's what happens to you. Also, what did you think? Did anybody notice the tattoo on his left upper thigh?
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't pause to look at what it was, but I saw that tattoo.
Do you think it's actually like Nathan Fillion's actual tattoo, or do you think it's the character?
It looked like a dark tattoo, and it looked fake to me.
Fake.
Anyone else got anything for this episode?
No, this is a pretty dense one. We packed it pretty.
Was the failsafe a surprise, or was it actually according to plan?
Failsafe as in Nara being there, or what do you mean by failsafe? Because she said she was the backup in case Malcolm got tricked.
You know what? Ignore me.
Oh,
I can't decrypt my own notes.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what the failsafe.
Do you mean
okay?
Do you mean her husband's wristband that she used to call the police?
I'll say there was some point in the episode where it is said that there was a failsafe that it seemed they were surprised about. Was the failsafe stated then according to plan to either Saffron, who kind of already had it all mapped out, or was it an actual surprise to all?
I can't think of a failsafe outside of Anara was the backup, and I guess his SOS device.
Because I was looking into this just while we were wrapping up.
Mhm.
That tattoo is real. That's actually one that Nathan Fillion got when he was 19 and regrets it.
Wow.
It's an Egyptian glyph.
All right. Cool.
No, sorry, I can't help you out with that. I don't know what it is referencing.
Okay.
That's what happens when you watch all the episodes back to back to back real quick and don't write down proper notes.
In regards to the device on Hamer, I liked he was smart.
Yeah, he's like, I knew what was going on, even though I made it sound like I didn't know what was going on.
As much as I love you, I knew there would be no way you'd come back for me. So I called the police immediately.
With my ring button, which I'm going to hit again in front of you. So I called them twice, and they won't show up now.
Yeah, I like
shit! Why did I do that?
The fact that he's like wasn't extremely gullible.
Yeah, it was a good, even for just like a split second of a character moment. Like, yeah, I think that was one of the better parts of the episode.
Last pass. Anyone got anything?
Nope.
The fighting choreography got a little bit better.
Yes, that's true. Actually, I agree with that. It's very quick, and they did a good job for quick takedowns.
Mm-hmm.
was
less Star Trek feeling.
True. Less like ballet choreograph, like
Kirk versus Gorgons or whatever. Strengths, you got anything?
Nope.
All right, ratings. Right.
I think this is my least favorite one of season 2, or I wish. My least favorite one of the second half of season 1. So I remember just trying to scroll up right now to it. I think objectively I gave it a 7. Yes, and then subjectively 6.5.
Did you say 6.5?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got the same 2 ratings as you. 7 and 6.5. Sinister.
Yeah, I'm gonna give 6.5.
Franks.
Objective 6.5, subjective 6.5.
Oh, pretty similar.
Yep.
And then we get 12, The Message.
One of my favorite episodes.
Ooh, there's going to be some fun conversations then.
Yeah, this is one of Crimson's probably he thought this one was doo-doo stinko.
Well, I thought it was 13.
No. Yeah, he's 13. Yeah, I know.
Sprinks, what did you think of this episode?
False information.
First, right off the bat.
I didn't like it.
Oh no, shocker.
I want fun discourse. What about this episode did you not like?
Tracy as a character.
What?
Okay, what about Tracy? How
Tracy?
deep do I have to keep asking? I want to dig.
Share your feelings.
The use of adding a new character for for the show at the time, not knowing it was going to get canceled, to add a character that could come back later is fine. But for the fact that he started off dead, to pose that he was dead, to then jump for the plot of the episode that he's alive and why he's alive and what he's smuggling, to then being dead at the end, that whole just alive, dead again thing in the story of the episode to be alive and dead for the plot is kind of tacky to me and weak. Tracy as a character seemed fine, I guess, for the alive at the beginning, kind of just explaining what he's doing, to then his twist of not his main thing is wanting to go home, but he's still smuggling, and he wants to. It's just, it seems like a character shift, and I can't tell if the character shift is sudden. I didn't like it because that's what I thought I saw in the show. But if the character shift wasn't, and when he woke up, he already had the intentions of all of that to begin with, then to me that's even worse, because that's, well, no, that would be better, because then that's him just straight on lying to Mal and Zoe at the beginning.
Which he admitted to doing, yeah.
So I just, all of this for a standalone character, and then the fact that he does die means that everything about him was set for this sole episode and not like a continuing, like he got away and you'll come back later kind of thing.
So why is it a negative that he died in this isn't reoccurring?
The part where I'm lost is you think the alive, dead again, alive, dead is the issue. Or at least you said that was tacky. I don't understand why you think it's tacky.
I think it was weak because he started off dead. They have Simon, who knew his vitals were off, but then Simon stated that it had a whole. He took something because of it, but taking the thing because of it is that also for the additional organs that he's going with to get that dose that's needed, because then that would be twice as much or a greater amount to stop all the organs and needing to be checked, which to Simon, upon checking without the autopsy, could not identify. Him being dead at the beginning with the backstory of war made it seem a little more emotionally attached that he's gone, and then the jump that he's alive is fine, and to the point where he's dead again, but dead at a different thought of mind, because they're all grown up and past the war of where they were with Malcolm, Zoe, and Tracy. It seemed it was too fast in areas of we're not who we were, and it's too slow in areas of this is the plot of the episode. To me, it was a mess.
I mean, Tracy was the plot, though.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. So here's my issue, Springs, because you lost me with what you were saying. I don't mean that as an insult, but you definitely lost me, because I don't know if I understand your phrasing or your syntax. I mean that I didn't get it. I know you don't like it, but you find it convoluted. I don't understand what about it precisely that you find convoluted.
And then we have a discourse, and then we try to figure out what's try to find some middle ground here.
Yeah.
So you brought up the pacing. Sorry, I want to continue this real quick. You brought up the pacing was one of your major issues. What about the pacing was off?
He came alive, I guess it was at the midpoint of the episode. At the middle point, so half the episode he's dead, with one backstory to reveal of his past of when he was alive, the intentions that he wants to get home, and then coming alive, still wants to get home, but home to escape, but escape with the organs he has rather than give them back because he's afraid he's going to just die because of the knowledge he knows. And it doesn't make sense that the autopsy would have gone through already with Simon, so they could have just taken them out and given the organs back that way, so he was at escape, but they were after the knowledge he had to kill him more so than the organs he had. So it didn't really matter to them if he had the organs or not, to the bad guys who were hunting him down.
Well, he still would need his organs if they removed his organs.
Okay, so he is smuggling other organs. The bad guys are after him because they were the original job that he was going for. So he double-crossed them in order to get a higher payout, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
your confusion is over
Motive, it sounds like.
the motive?
No, not the motive of the bad guys. The motive of Tracy.
Okay. The motive of
Wants to be
Tracy is
paid.
to get the higher payout because he wants to get his family off their boring moon. Or their horrible moon that they're living on.
Ostensibly, yeah.
That's ostensibly what we were given.
The higher payout of what? Of the organs he's smuggling?
Yes.
Yeah.
And how would that be removed?
Okay, so they explained this in one scene. I maybe missed it or forgot about it. So the bad guys chasing Tracy are doing illegal smuggling with organs that he made a deal with. He found a third party who's willing to pay him more for those organs and give him his old organs back. So that
the idea is his old organs are in the lab.
Yeah.
So when he gets there, they will take his smuggled ones and give him his old one back, or give him other smuggled ones to live with.
And with the payout, he gets his family off the moon.
Mm-hmm.
That's his goal.
This might help with one aspect of the smuggling. Does he only have one set of organs in him?
Yes.
Yeah.
That helps. Okay. I thought he had like 3 hearts currently in him, and he
You
was just
were-
an incubator of all
okay.
these
So
other.
So you
organs in
were
him.
you were on Invader Zim level. They were not on that.
I was on that because Simon said he's going into cardiac arrest and like all these things, and I thought that was because he had multiple body parts in him.
No,
Or
they were just
causing
too.
the vitals to be such.
No, they were just too good. That was the.
Yeah, he said he had one set, and once he gets to the location, they'd swap him out with his original organs.
That's one part I missed.
Okay. So does
There
that
we
clear
go.
up some convolution, at least in that regard?
Clears up the fact that he doesn't have like 3 hearts and 6 pairs of lungs and
Everything else, no.
that clears that up for me.
Because what you brought up was you thought he could just remove the fake ones to give to the bad guys, and the problem would be solved.
Because
that
being
couldn't
an
happen.
incubator, I thought they'd like, oh, we'll just take out the parts that aren't yours and then give them back, so you're still alive. But not necessarily with not his own heart. But if he has 3 hearts in him, it's like you can keep one of them.
Yeah, that's not the case. So, guess that helps with that understanding. Did Tracy's motives work better for you now as well?
No.
Okay, why?
I like how like flatly.
Do I have to
No.
reply the obvious question?
If he only has one thing in him, and they're holding his own,
Okay.
Yeah.
No, this is
why smuggle with?
Okay. Sorry, I was asking about motivation, not.
Well,
No,
I actually want to hear what he's
still
saying
makes
right
it.
now.
I want to see. I want to
It's
hear.
so dumb for me.
I want to hear.
Makes it still kind of dumb if he doesn't have more organs to smuggle with as an incubator and just a one set of one because of, I guess, the property, like how pristine they are. Why not just have them smuggled on their own or in another form of some sort, like a mannequin or a robot or
okay.
something?
Yeah,
Well,
That's just the
because-
world we have.
This is the world.
So well,
This
so I can answer that a little bit.
This is the larger world building problem that I brought up earlier. We have only what we are given.
I
This is
don't
how
see.
it
I think
evidently works.
I don't know. I think logically, okay, we have artificial organs, right? Because we're in fucking Repo Man or something. Artificial organs, when we need to keep them, and I'm sure there's a level of keeping them safe in transport. So how do you keep them safe in transport? Well, nobody's going to be looking for illegal artificial organs inside of an actual human being, because why would they have that if they're
That's true.
especially
There's the trafficking aspect.
yeah.
And then
So
the postage, yeah.
Yeah. And then also, okay, well, what keeps what keeps something working that's an organ? Oh, a human body. So that way it would be less detectable unless somebody's actually like really looking. So it makes enough sense. I will give it there are some holes to it that are just, lack of world building related, but it made perfect sense to me that like, oh yeah, the perfect thing to transport a fake organs would be a living human being because yeah, and especially one that is a little rough on the edges, so how could he afford fake organs? So you
Well,
wouldn't
this
expect it
was
either.
also 2002 or 3, right? So
Yeah.
did we have working
We had
organs
pacemakers.
in machines?
Yeah, we
Because
had like
now we can actually grow organs and have them incubate and
I don't
stuff.
think so.
I don't think that was a thing in 2002
Yeah.
yet.
It was all theoretical.
So um, I think it totally makes sense with the whole smuggling aspect. I didn't even think about in regards to that because they go through the mail. It's illegal to transport bodies and stuff.
Yeah.
I would imagine organ black market stuff is also illegal. That's just assuming, I guess.
Mm-hmm. You know what happens when you assume?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
I guess I'll ask if that clarified anything, and then I'll end this debate and go to our normal structure. Did that help at all, Sprinks? Or
No, that still made it worse.
worse? Why'd that make it worse?
If what you're saying, if at the modern time they were making this, they didn't have, making organs in real life, that still opens a span. 2002 only marks what they have, and that still opens a span of science fiction that the show is to go off of, which I believe is 500 years set in the future after a civil war of whenever that takes place.
Yeah, 500 years.
So the science fiction that could be anything. They could even as you just said,
Okay,
making organs. Making organs
that's
could have been the science
Okay.
fiction in the
Okay.
show.
So
Okay, now you're just writing.
We never
out
even see
there.
robots in this world.
Yeah.
You're saying I know with what writer says only of what they show, and what they show is they can use humans to incubate organs, which is what they're using.
we know
They
that-
don't have
we
the
know that-
designs
we
to
know
make
that
things.
we know that they can incubate stuff in labs. We know that. The problem is transportation. So that's why they've chosen to do the human trafficking thing. They traffic in the same way that people still traffic drugs today inside of people.
Yeah, because it's the
They just
easiest thing to
just
not
doing-
look like you're doing something.
they're just
Yeah.
doing it more allegorically here and more literally with organs.
So there's I can't stress this part enough. There's nothing told to us in any other form of another option for this other than what we could possibly make up. But as far as we're aware,
The writers
y-
chose to do this, so we have to assume that this is how it's done normally in the world.
yeah. So did
I'll,
that clear anything
Have
up?
this
Or was
debate
that...
over and go back to our popcorn method.
Okay.
Who wants to start pointing something out?
I think we already pointed out the whole episode.
I got one.
Let's
I got one. I love the pickpocket on Mal. He just grabs them at the very beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Someone tries to pickpocket Mal. Mal just grabs it and takes his wallet back. Because
I had to do a double take on there because I wasn't sure what just happened, and then I realized I was like, "Wait, did he steal like money from someone?" And I was like, "Oh no, he had money stolen from him." I see.
good character stuff. I liked it.
Yeah, a lot of the stuff in this market I liked. Like River trying to eat the food. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, that was the moon or something.
She's like,
Ice
this food
Planet,
is
Ice
frustrating. That's
Planet.
what she said, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she was like, "Candy does freaking genius intellect doesn't even know how to eat a moon."
Yeah. Jane and his mom was good.
The best hat of all time has been introduced.
Yeah, well, Mark was good. Is there anything for you, Springs? Popcorn method wise?
Continuer of when they take Tracy out of the coffin. Jane takes his hat off, and then it cuts to I think Mao, and Jane's behind him with his hat back on, and then it goes back to Jane holding his hat again.
Word.
That is definitely a problem. Good catch.
Good catch.
I don't even have to look that up. I'm sure that's definitely accurate.
I believe it.
Classic Fox Network.
It's hard sometimes to get the clothing.
Oh no, I know. Yeah, no, it's that's like.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Go.
I really like the talk between Jane and Preacher about like what they do when they see a dead body, how they both have different versions of like coping with death, and I like their philosophical talk and juxtaposed to the drinking and storytelling aspect from Zoe and Mal when they're telling stories about Tracy.
Yeah.
For me, their storytelling reminds me. It works for me the same way that Saving Private Ryan's humor does when Matt Damon's character is telling the story about his brothers. It works in a very, very similar fashion of effectiveness because it's very, very contextual humor, and it's just really well acted. Because when you're telling a story in a story, you have to, act like you were there. You have to really show your history as a character. So I thought it was very well done and well written.
I'd agree. Trying to.
I like the little flashback bit, the eating beans.
Yeah,
and how Malcolm wanted those beans if Tracy died.
Yeah, like, oh, Tracy, you're alive. Damn, I want your beans.
Yeah, and Zoe's like first rule. Make sure the enemy doesn't know where you are.
Cut to Mal.
Come get me! Come get me! Get over here!
Come get me!
Yeah. There are two philosophies.
There are,
and they both made it out, so they both work.
It was cool getting to see a little bit more of the like the war days versions of Mal and Zoe, because we only got to see in the pilot so far.
Like I said, the stories that tell are also really, really great, but it is cool to see more of it.
It's cool. It's definitely, sometimes, tell, don't show, or, all that kind of stuff. But it's also really cool to show something.
Yeah, very, very, very small thing. I like the, seeker. I think kind of like a seeker mine almost. That the Alliance uses. I really like the high-tech weapon that comes after them and the very, very low-tech counter that they have.
Throw rock.
It's a very, very small thing. Well, it wasn't a rock that he threw, right? It was. I thought it was his helmet.
Was it? I don't know. He threw something.
Yeah, it reminds me of like in Terminator Salvation, where they have like all the improvised weaponry against the really high level machines and everything, and they just have like magnets and shit
it's very creative improvisational tech that helps clearly define like the differences between the Alliance and the Brown Coat Rebellion.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, they have like all this really high tech stuff, but as long as you know exactly where the weak point, it's all useless, or it's it's not as useful anymore. It's cool.
I thought he either threw the helmet or shot a flare into the air. That's.
I like that they had the I don't know what, I think he was the sergeant who was like freaking out. He said his arms were lost even though they were still attached.
Yeah, their boss went nuts.
Yeah, some people just aren't meant cut out for it.
Something I didn't really like in this episode was Tracy and Kaylee. I don't know what they were trying to do there. If they were going romance, I didn't like how fast it was.
I mean,
and if they weren't, I still didn't like it.
I think what they wanted to do is like she's getting tired of Simon not reciprocating,
striking out. Yeah.
So the idea is that she's not necessarily moved on, but she's just looking for that sort of attention elsewhere.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I've been doing this for like a month or whatever, and I'm not getting any further. I wish there was somebody else on here that I could have that sort of connection with, kind of thing.
So I'm okay with them building it, and since nothing happened, I'm fine with it as it is. If they did get together, I would have been a little miffed, but they didn't. So.
No, I agree. It seemed sort of like kind of quick, but I think it worked where it was like quick enough and nothing really happened, so you didn't really feel, too invested or like something else was getting kind of burned out by doing it sort of thing. It fit to me.
What do you think, Sprinks?
In context of what?
Okay.
How Tracy and Kaylee's relationship or lack thereof went.
That was forced. That was simply for the beginning off-put of Simon, which has actually been played in past episodes of Simon and Kaylee, of being this Thane and then sometimes not a Thane, which I think was pretty prominent in Janestown when we covered that one in the last part. And because of it kind of being off-put at the beginning of this episode, they made it with Tracy, and it could have been a little good if Simon had a little jealousy towards it or something shown, but it was mostly just for the development of Kaylee as a character to go with, are you going on to another person, or are you still attached to Simon in any way? And I didn't quite like it because it was just set to Kaylee. So the Kaylee aspects of it as a single person, I think was fine, for her.
So you would have rather Simon
Hang on,
third-wheeled?
I'm sorry. Did the middle of my conversation interrupt the beginning of yours? One sec. As for Kaylee herself, I think it was fine. As for Tracy, didn't like. It was very well. I don't know his past history of people, but it seemed very prominent. I think it was just trying to get a lean on and maybe leverage with another character, which he then, used Kaylee as an advantage, who was kind of more soft to him after a conversation. But I think having Simon present would have been nicer, to actually show him have more care for Kaylee, or maybe at a point with River to show that he cares for both of them. Definitely not equally, because he definitely cares for River, as we've seen in all the episodes of Simon. But I think that would have been a nicer, stronger bond of him and Kaylee, even if it was just a 2-sentence thing afterwards.
I agree.
I agree. It's a classic sitcom trope of because a lot of what grabs people in shows is the tension of a possible relationship, and so it's always a will they, won't they that works with. If you name like 100 sitcoms, I guarantee you probably 75% of them will probably have it in there. This is not so Firefly is not a sitcom, but just saying it's just a trope that just works because it keeps people. Obviously, it didn't work in this one because it only got 14 episodes and no second season. So maybe I'm wrong about my assessment here, but it works most of the time to have this sort of underlying current of a possible, maybe not relationship. Hence why they keep getting closer and then Simon fucks it up, and
Spent a lot of time on this one, and we didn't get to cover too much, so I'll just do a blanket thing. First,
you're gonna put a blanket on this? Come on, man.
Then Sinister, then Ryder. Sprinks, what about the bad guys? We haven't really talked too much about them. What are your thoughts on them?
Oh, the bad guys? Just going after Tracy seemed to be their only motto. They seemed very intimidating, trying to burn a postal man in a very public space. So I don't know how much care they have to their own image, being that they are fake officials. Very weak. They were all. They kind of felt all bark no bite.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I did like how Shepard handled them. It was pretty good. And then Sinister, your thoughts on the baddies?
It was I mean, I kind of got like the gist of them pretty early on, which not a bad thing or anything. Just kind of definitely reeked of sort of filler villain. Where I was like, okay, they know enough, jargon and stuff that they're probably officials, but they're also probably crooked in cops, or whatever, that sort of thing. So I kind of got their MO pretty early on. their threat to that one guy was very really focused on prison rape. I don't really know what the whole they went from prison rape to they went from prison rape to they were gonna light him on fire. Big 180 there. Yeah, so I guess they had some potential in there, but I think they ended up just being kind of filler, baddies.
Right. And writer.
Serviceable. I thought their way for hunting down the ship was cool. Showed they had some intelligence. Got nothing more than that, I suppose.
Yeah, they're pretty surface level. This specifically is a Springs question because of the whole Tracy talk. So you didn't like his dead alive dead thing, but I'm curious how you thought they handled the recordings on his introduction as a dead guy, then him actually dying. How do you think they handled that?
What do you mean by recordings?
There's a little audio recording of the crawling.
Oh,
his last wish, I guess.
Yeah. His will.
That was okay.
I don't know.
It was okay. Fitting for the end to come around as like a bookend, which I guess was nice. That was nice. And the beginning, just an introduction point of kind of like as his last wish was nice, but when he's alive and he didn't really state it and didn't really reference the recording at all about his words, which kind of gives a little hollow point at the end for the bookend, but yeah, it was fitting at the beginning. What I thought was weird is how it got into Kaylee's hands with the recording when she was in the engine room. I don't know why she had it.
Yeah, that was a little odd.
Yeah, she just seemed emotionally invested hearing it the first time. But it is kind of, I mean, it's obviously to bolster her connection with him in the short time we get between them.
I just don't understand why Malcolm or Zoe would give it to someone else.
I agree. That one of them would definitely keep it or keep it on his body. One of those two options. I guess I'll throw out one little fact and then general last thoughts for the episode. At the funeral, shortly before they filmed it, is when they found out the show got canceled. So a lot of those emotions were what people were feeling about the show being canceled. Which is kind of cool, but also sad at the same time.
Yeah. I guess a good way to get into method acting, huh?
Yeah. All right. Anyone else got anything else to cover?
No. I liked. I think overall, a lot of the stuff they did in this episode. Some of it did, I will admit, seem kind of a little bit speedy. But I think with a lot of the stuff that they were kind of having to work into it, there really was very little way around it. So it's kind of I guess it's a little bit of a bittersweet, just kind of good episode.
Specifically, I liked that they tried to do everything before the autopsy. Like they didn't want to, ruin his body or anything. That's why it was a last resort. I kind of like that aspect because they want to do their friend justice, but when people are coming after them, like okay, we can only be respectful to a point, So eventually they broke down to greenlight the autopsy. I kind of like the progression in that area. And I think I like Mal's reaction to the whole thing. You killed yourself, son. That's the whole... I just held onto the bullet for a while. That was a nice...
Yeah, I like the whole bullet stuff that they talked about a couple times.
The bullet. The bullet. Even Vera couldn't purse that hole. She's the best gun I got.
I like that he's there to... I like that Mal is... We get to see a character from Mal just being there for him, even though he fucked up and was...
Yeah.
So I like that Mal's still sticking with him kind of to his last breath. And they get to kind of have that saying again for the third time. The don't walk down stuff.
Yeah, they got... Listen, that's on t-shirts, man. You got to drive that home.
And Sprinks, did you have anything else?
I think the one-on-one conversation of Tracy and Kaylee that they were having in Kaylee's room, the setting of Kaylee's room to me showed vulnerability of safety that Kaylee had Tracy down there as a new person, in the crew. But I think it was a too forced of a setting of this romantic play that they were going with.
Yeah, it's possible. Do any of you remember why Tracy was down there instead of on the bridge with everyone else?
Yeah, Mal specifically asked her to watch over him.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
then I agree.
there was
a little forced. That's
Yeah.
the case. All right. Rating time. I'll do the
Rating time,
reverse.
rating time.
Sprinks.
Objective 6.5, subjective 5.5.
All right. Sinister.
7.
I gave it.
Quickly find my rating.
Oh shoot! That was the only one I didn't write a rating for. Typical. With this talk, I'll give it an objective 6.5 and a subjective 7.5.
I think I believe I'm 7 and 7.
Right.
7 and 7.
Episode 13.
Oh yeah, this is when you said you hated, despised, ridiculed.
No, it's my second man one.
I know.
Heart of Gold. There we go. Couldn't find where I wrote that. Heart of Gold. I'll start this off with the Rance Burgess. Burgess.
Burgess the burger.
I'll just call him Rance.
I just call him the mayor.
Piece of shit. Why don't you just call him piece of shit? That's what he fucking is.
Yeah, he sucked. He was the reason I didn't like this episode that much. He was too much of a cartoon.
Yeah,
like, we've had some pretty like the previous episode. The cops were kind of cut out villains, but at least they were a little bit more enjoyable. They had motives and stuff. This guy's like, I am the personification of toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And that's it.
I am what happens when men are left to their own devices and just get whatever they want.
Yeah, so this show's had a lot of, like, even Niska, the torture guy.
Yeah,
he loves hurting people, but he's entertaining. And he's got some layers. He's got a level of respect and stuff. There's stuff here. This guy's just douchebag.
He wants his son.
Didn't like him.
Isn't he well motivated?
So, yeah, Rance. Sinister. Got something?
I was not expecting when he first enters. I was like, oh, he's probably like a guy who comes in. He probably has a lot of money, but he's not, doesn't treat the girls well and that kind of thing. And then and then they bring out the pregnant lady, and he just stabs a thing into her belly, and I was like, holy shit, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is escalating quickly, and then you realize that I don't even know what is he like the mayor or something? Like, I never
caught his name. I literally wrote down mayor. I assume he's Italian.
I thought he was like the mayor or like the sheriff or something.
Yeah, I think he was sheriff.
Which I guess in the Wild West was kind of like the mayor position. Yeah. But still, I was just like, oh, geez, like, this guy's like an awful dude, like, bad guy. And then I was like, oh, well, it's a brothel. So they're going to get involved because of the companion. I forgot her name again.
Inara.
I keep wanting to say Arion. I want an A and a U to be in there. Yeah. So yeah, it was gonna be this was kind of it was like bad, not like bad guy, but like stereotypically bad guy, or not stereotypically, but like just like, oh yeah, this is a bad guy. Like, nothing really, like, you couldn't really get into his motives. His motives were just sort of like what you'd think like any kind of douchey, like, toxic guy would, be like,
I'm here for my son, whore.
That's my boy. I don't know why I only had sex with a prostitute and didn't find some other woman to be married to or something.
Well, yeah, you have a wife.
Probably. Well, no, that's what. Yeah, but she was barren.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, why don't you just divorce her? Well, probably because he's an awful guy. That's probably why he didn't do it.
This is where Josh really got the inspiration for the Black Widows. Got it. Okay.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. So I don't know. It just seemed like, yeah, like what Crimson said earlier. Like cartoon badness, like to the point of it's like, okay, well, he's just toxic and bad, and like there's no real problem solving here. You're either gonna have to kill him, or you're gonna have to just like kick him out of town or something. Like, no really situation here is gonna end well for anyone.
Sprinks, I'll ask you your thoughts on the bad guy and a popcorn point. So,
the bad guy, he had the passion of what he wanted, which was his child, and with continuation proof that yes, it is his child, and that's just what he wants. But I mean, it's not born yet, and it's not like the child from Willow, or it's not the baby. It's not like a Star Wars baby. I mean, it's not the importance of this one child is not like prophesized or anything. So it is, as Crimson you said earlier, a bit cartoony. He could just kind of respectfully wait and settle it a little more maturely. So yeah, a bit zany of a villain for this episode. A popcorn point, somewhat about the episode, but not in the episode, is I presume we're going in order of Hulu, of what Hulu puts the episodes in. Is that correct?
Yeah. And the physical copy as well, because I have that.
Okay, I found a fact that states that depending, episodes 13 and 14 flop at times.
This would suck as the last episode.
Yes,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. A pretty crappy one.
So
I can say that the airing out of order issue was pretty much gone by like the second half of, or like the second so that was only the earlier one.
Episodes 11 and 12, Trash and the Message, were the last two to come out.
Yeah, there was 3 that did not come out. Yeah.
Wow.
Just in case some people are thinking, well, we skipped an episode or whatnot.
I want to add, so basically this guy has the exact same motivations as Immortan Joe from Mad Max Fury Road. That's basically the whole point.
I'm glad there's no milking area.
Let that sink in for you. That's the exact same. It's the exact same plot.
And writer, thoughts on bad guy and popcorn point?
Bad guy, cartoonishly villainy.
Bad guy, dumb. He's smart.
Appropriately hateable, I guess. I mean, you don't like him from the first moment you see him, so good job, I guess, on that.
He's got a point. It worked.
I mean, we're supposed to dislike him, so
that's
good job.
True.
I do think they overplayed a little bit. I was hoping for something understandably human. As a that would allow him to be a better character than more of a tool. But my PowerPoint, I love Jane in this episode.
He finally gets to knock some boots.
Yeah. Didn't want to do the mission at all. Finds out. Didn't want to do the whole like Western protecting thing at all.
Yeah.
Until he found
it's a brothel.
He's like, I'm in. And
when I run out of shots, bring me my next gun.
Also,
pretty solid motivation.
Also, Malcolm finally gets to say "whores" without being corrected by Anoran.
Yeah.
Well, he's not calling Anora.
Yeah. No, but she's like, actually, in this situation, it's appropriate. These are not companions.
Yeah, they're not official. They don't have licenses. I guess I do have a question, if you don't mind.
Go on.
Me, Crimson.
Yeah, go ahead.
What did you guys think of Malcolm's one-off relationship?
It was okay. It wasn't as bad as Kaylee and
Tracy.
Tracy.
Yeah, but there was
it wasn't like
so
that.
Moving on.
Yeah. I mean, they were trying to build something little there, but anyways, I thought it was okay. I'm fine with him. I guess air quotes cheating on Inara, since they're not really together, but
not official. So.
Well, there's an emotional connection. Either way, I think it's okay. Springs, your thoughts on it?
I think it's okay because they've shown timeline so far that it's been a good chunk of hours that they've been around and chatted to each other. And then even during the part where they're in the room together, it was very slow, and it was not like the main priority on either's mind. So I think it was fine.
It's Sinister.
It was. It just didn't have, at least from my point of view, because another, I guess, will they, won't they, is Mal and Honora. And so kind of giving him this, I guess, somewhat temptation, or some a different person feels sort of like a cop out, and it doesn't feel as earned, or or as there was as much connection, I guess I should say. Even if they're like, they create some, in some form or fashion.
All right. So you saw the relationship more as just like a plot device than anything?
Yeah, like something to. I guess in the very best scenario, I see it as like trying to open Mal up to Honora in some form, to accept her more than he has been throughout most of this, series. And to kind of, I guess, like the first thing is to kind of accept a relationship of, some form with, not necessarily a companion, but, someone in that profession. So I think that was like, the best thing, I guess, that it did in that way. But it just didn't feel quite as. It didn't feel like it really opened up as much as it could have if it had been more established, I guess.
I thought, because Inara closes the door again at the beginning of the episode. I thought it was, it was just for me. It lined up with Western kind of tropes, like day before big battle, have fun.
Yeah, you got to splay your seed. Yeah, gotcha.
I did think they did build it fairly well. Like it was very believable. It was very slow. They took their time with it. They spent a lot of time to getting to know one another, to accept this with each other. So I thought I thought it was good.
You looked at that gun more than any other woman in here.
Are you? What did she say? Are you?
Are you slanted or crooked?
Yeah,
or...
something weird like no. No. It was some weird way to say, like, are you gay? Or, yeah. I wish I got written it down. It was good.
I think she said sly.
Yeah,
sly.
Are you on the sly? And he's like, no.
No, I like women.
I like woman fellers. I mean, women. I mean,
what do you guys think of that traitor whore? Because I don't think they ever gave her
another tool. I didn't think anything of her. Got no motivation.
Yeah, it was annoying that there was no motivation.
There was nothing.
Yeah,
just like,
because she got like,
this exists now to facilitate something. Okay.
She didn't even really have a name.
No, she doesn't. And all I would want to do is, all we can call her is whore. That's it.
Yeah.
She has no other descriptor. Traitor. And
he calls her over. It's like, she understands the place of a woman. Now kneel. And then, oh my god.
Yeah, like, oh Jesus, come on.
This is stupid.
Right
in front of all the town folk.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see my sheriff get a blowjob from a prostitute in town square in front of everybody right before a big battle is about to commence to get his possible child from another prostitute. Like what? Like if that happened, I would be questioning a lot of the choices I'd made that ended me up there.
It's like, wait, why
Like,
am
okay,
I
honey.
following this guy?
Yeah. Okay, honey, we're
He's rich and
moving.
he's got power.
We're gonna go to
Yeah.
Space Alabama now. They have.
I'm moving
At
there
least
with
they
your
have a
sister, are you?
culture.
Got it.
Shrinks. Got a popcorn.
In regard to that, I think it would have been. Well, yes, but going off of that, I think it would have been stronger if it was the lady Jane was with, if that was the one who turned on them, because then that would have had a little more connection to at least a character, other than just someone in the background.
That would have been interesting.
Oh man, Jane's getting a broken heart. Excuse to use his gun though, which is also fun.
I'm curious if he sees her as a woman or an object. If he'd care.
I don't think he cares. He's just having.
I mean,
I don't
he sees
think he would.
guns
here
as
having
women.
a good time. That is what his goal
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, he's a simple creature.
Um,
He's the. Is it the id? What's the?
yeah,
The
the
the pleasure.
Right one.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the id of the Firefly. He's all pleasure.
I guess I do have a popcorn part. It's odd that Amazing Grace is still a song that's used.
Dude, it's a classic banger.
I mean, it's the same reason Beastie Boys are still listened to in the Star Trek universe. Like, however far that in the future that is.
I love that. That's awesome.
So
What was that then?
That was what Captain Kirk plays. Yeah, he's like, I can't stand it. I know you planned it. I'm gonna get straight to the
We need to stay right here as well. Crimson has not seen the third movie.
Well, it's not in the third
trilogy.
movie though.
Yeah, it's in the first movie too.
one.
It's in the third one.
Yeah, it's also
in the first one too, though.
Yeah, I know.
Is it like a cool payoff thing?
We need some tunes.
Yes.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I'm usually fine with classics being incorporated into sci-fi if there's an excuse for it.
Well, especially like with Amazing Grace, that's a standard. So that I can definitely see that kind of transcending, like, time and space. Sort of. It's just like some things just do. I mean, we still listen to like 100, 200-year-old songs.
It'd be interesting if there was some commentary on it. But I know that would ruin the funeral moment, so I can't really find a place where I would want to stick it in there. Again, world building problem. Just.
Well, I kind of agree that a lot of those classical ones kind of transcend time, right? They probably won't go away unless humanity does.
People still like do the dun dun na 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 dun 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 na dun na. Like everybody knows that. They don't know that song. They don't know what the song is called. Yeah, Ode to Joy, but nobody. Isn't that amazing? That's Beethoven. It's so simple. It almost sounds like Mozart.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm fine with the classical. If it was some popular song of the 90s or 2000s, like, man, this is popular 500 years from now.
Dude, I wish they were singing
like to be really justified with that. Like, it'll be a good measure in like another 20 years or so. Really dating the podcast. In another 20 years, if there are 90 songs people still listen to, that's probably a good measure that it's going to stand the test of time.
Yeah, I mean if anything lasts like 60, 70 years, it's usually going to last, for a long time. I like because like Christmas songs and everything, some of those are like 200 years old, even more. Mm-hmm. And they're still around. It's cool. It's cool that time does not get rid of everything.
Sinister, did you have a popcorn point?
I will say it seemed like they were pretty outmatched. So
especially once he got heads up.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, this is gonna be a bloodbath. So I was amazed they managed to keep. Jane did his part, and he got rid of that gunner immediately, which I was pretty sure was going to be a bigger plot point than it was. So.
Hey, I mean that's the strategy in Halo, right? Kill the gunner on the war.
Yeah, you take out the gunner. I didn't expect him to get to the baby so quickly. That seemed like kind of a.
Was it the traitor that opened the door to get him inside?
Yeah.
It was so fast I didn't see.
Yeah, no. I was like, and then I saw her there, and I was like, oh, I guess she opened the door. Weird. Simon delivering
the way
the baby
that
was
he
weird.
got there without ever getting shot, being the head guy, is kind of a little ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
They were shooting all the goons, but not him.
He was the only one on a horse. They can't get anything out of that. He did drive up like a fucking dick though, because he was in like a sports car, and everybody else was in
on
a
horseback.
Yeah, like what an asshole.
Weird blend of sci-fi and western. It's funny, but like they said, there is
Yeah.
world building for this at least.
Yeah, like oh, this gun isn't even standard issue yet in the Alliance systems.
This is illegal to own privately, is it not? I was referring to your wife.
I was referring to your wife.
I do like Malk's first impulse after sizing up is just everyone run. Like,
yeah, run, get out of there.
I think I would have also, well, I don't know if I would have liked it, but we're very lucky that all the workers here know how to use a gun.
I think it comes with the territory.
Maybe they are in a western town brothel, but
yeah, nobody's there because they really want to be there.
Yeah, I'm all right with that. I agree. Malcolm saying let's run. I like it.
Yeah, like, you run, get out of here.
I really love that his laser gun ran out of battery.
Yeah, like you have run out of battery. Like I like that because it shows that he has like really no like real knowledge of it, other than the fact that it's expensive, fancy. You know,
it goes pew pew. But I guess so does the revolvers.
Yeah. Actually, strangely enough, this is one episode where they do the world building a little bit better on the rim worlds, because the whole like foil wrapped house as a means of solar paneling.
Like, yeah,
like, that's actually pretty good. I like that.
I agree. Anybody have anything else they wanted to?
Yeah, I like River again.
Yeah.
Who's going to come out of there? Or whatever she said during that.
Such a deep question.
Yeah. It's starting. What's starting?
Oh! and then Mal has like a 10-second freak out before Doc's like, I got this one, Mal.
Yeah, I can just see the future all the time. Yeah. Even in episode 8, when the fire started up, she's like, fire, and he's like, oh yeah, blow out the candles, and then the fire happens. Yeah. You can see a little bit in the future, at least.
Yeah.
Anybody have any final thoughts before we kind of wrap up this particular episode, the penultimate episode?
I got the I like Inara crying alone. This is after her
that broke me a little bit.
Talking down to Mel. I'm like, oh, that was it shows that it's an act. That I really appreciate the moment of vulnerability there. That she's trying so hard to keep professional, and she realizes she's the one that's pushing him away at this point of fashion. So, but it still hurts her. So I do like this. I also like her friend. Also apologizes because she didn't know that it went both ways. Like the emotional feelings towards one.
She was like, "You lied to me."
Do you find it a flaw that she didn't realize?
No, I mean she didn't.
She said she could read people. She was trained as a companion, and she was able to read.
I think shows
we don't really see them interact much. So
I think it just shows how deep they've kind of both buried, I guess, their feelings for one another, because they both feel that it can't be. I think
Mel
anything,
would be more obvious because she doesn't.
Yeah,
have
he would be
training, so maybe she hides it better.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's a flaw necessarily, but there is some wiggle room
there. Sprinks, you got any final points?
I got. Pardon me. I got another random one that I can't really recall off of memory where it goes to, but it's in my notes, and it says
go on, man. Go on.
Kaylee and Wash got swapped in the hallway plan.
Oh yeah, she's on the outside and he's in the engine room. We also don't. I don't think that gets resolved on screen either.
Never mind. Ryder, yeah, that they got swapped when they were on Serenity, and they were closing the doors to lock them. Wash was in the engine room, and Kaylee was like towards the helm of the ship. Where
Yeah,
if
the
they were
opposite.
swapped,
Yeah.
they would have been far more useful.
Yes.
He's like, okay, well, let's get out of here.
Yeah, they didn't think that far ahead. Granted, they were being chased people with guns, but you know, yeah, they did get swapped in terms of.
Interesting that those guys got on the Serenity.
Yeah, they knew.
Yeah,
Huh.
I have no idea how they got there. I just assume the mayor did something with that, but there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
explanation whatsoever. How they got in undetected.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a problem.
I like Rance's ending.
Just gets fucking executed.
Yeah.
Say hello to your father, Jonah. Say goodbye to him.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, there was nothing else they could do with that character. Cartoonish.
No.
Just end him
That's
now.
not a character.
Yeah, you at least gotta kill him in a pretty iconic fashion. Nothing else.
I liked how the shepherd was using a hose.
Yeah.
Wasn't using guns.
Putting
Even though he
putting
can
out the
kneecap.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Hosing
kneecapping
people
though
off
in this
horses.
situation, they still have their guns.
Let's see. Do I have anything else?
The lady, the proprietor getting killed. I wasn't shocked that she died, but I was surprised a little bit.
I found it a little lame the way she died.
Yeah, it was just like.
Yeah,
snuffed out.
I think because of this is purely because of my love of Mel at this point in the show and the character work done with Mel. I wanted them to do something a little more with her because they have an attachment now. I'm fine with her still dying because I saw that one coming. Like, there's the point.
Yeah.
You can see, like, in the brief exchange she has with Inara over their body, like the anger that they both have at it. So he is motivated to do it himself, which I'm fine with. But I think I do want something less, something more lame, something less lame. Sorry, I'm getting my.
Yeah, something more. I want something more lame.
I wanted something more from her death because at this point she now has an attachment to one of our main characters, so her death could be more meaningful.
Yeah, I'm especially because like she was the whole kind of crux that like the running away plan hinged on, making it happen. And so with her, because she was like, I don't, I had to spend years, fighting to get this land, away from men and all that stuff, which is a noble pursuit and everything, and makes sense. But then to have her like get killed, it kind of makes it all seem like, okay, well that was all pointless. Like they didn't need to do any of this then if she was just gonna die.
I mean, it is a very rustic world, so like I'm okay with her dying. I would want her to do something a little more impactful with her death.
Yeah, I would like that. I would like the death to have more meaning, more of an impact on the world or something. But wasn't in the cards.
Last thing I have is just Wash's line to Kaylee when she's like, am I attractive or something along those lines? If I were unwed, I would take you in a manly fashion. Because I'm pretty?
Because you're pretty. It was good.
Yeah,
right.
I agree.
I like that. I like that as well. That was good. That was a good little. You don't see them interacting much, so that was a nice little interaction.
They're in opposite ends of the ship, so I do find it funny that they rarely talk to each other.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, good to go?
Yes.
For the ratings.
Yes. Do this.
Gotta find my ratings.
Okay.
Right.
Butterfly.
Sister, you go first.
Oh. Chip. This was kind of a difficult one because I like a couple of things in this, but I think on the whole, I gotta give this like 0.5. There's some good stuff in here, but overall, this is probably one of the weaker episodes.
Did you say 0.5?
6.5.
6.5. Okay, I'm like 0.5. Jesus.
That's worse than Doctor
Strange.
This was a show. That's all I can say about it. Yes. I don't really know what was going on here.
6.5. All right, Ryder.
The villain's the main problem with this episode. But I I think I gave it 7. I think is where I've settled on it. I do love all the Western tropes, so 8 for subjective.
Objective 6 and subjective 5. Springs.
Objective 7.5, subjective 7.
Episode 14.
Dun, dun, dun.
The
The
finale. That isn't a finale.
It's I was a little
Objects in
disappointed.
space.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those like this would have. This is a self-contained episode. this is.
Yeah, it's a weird one to go out on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah. So does anyone feel passionate enough to start first?
I love the opening sequence of the river.
There we go.
We get to see her. We get to see how what her perspective is on everything. I love the way they edit it too. So like, she's hearing the thoughts in a very very literal way. So I like the visual cue for us as an audience of how her psychic powers work.
Okay, that was going to be a question: is if she was reading minds, or that's just how she perceived.
Yeah, that's the.
thought
I
they
couldn't. Yeah, because
I think she's definitely hearing thoughts.
Because Simon seemed a little off to me. If it
what
was
was Simon's? That was the only one I missed.
That he'd rather be at the place they were talking about with Kaylee. Yeah.
Oh.
He misses that life, so I'm fine with that being his thoughts.
I guess
the like anger look he gives River is how she interprets the line because she's guilty still. Like she feels directly guilty for what's happened to Simon.
Yeah. I don't know. It was interesting because I like Jane's and Simon's inner, I guess their thought bubble moment. I guess we can call it, or seemed fairly, I guess, close to how but like Shepard's didn't seem quite right. But maybe that's just because we don't know anything about Shepard.
It didn't seem relevant to the conversation him and Jane were having.
Yeah,
to be thinking about it.
I don't care who's innocent or who's telling the truth, or something.
Yeah, his is very out of place because of the fact that we don't understand much about his character.
Yeah, and then I wasn't quite sure what was going on with like Wash and Zoe. Was she like feeling the sex? I wasn't quite sure.
She's getting the blanket intoxication of their love for one another, I guess.
Oh.
So like she's getting all the feelings without,
the physical. Yeah. I'm a big girl. You can just tell me.
Yeah. Spring, since you were theorizing powers in part 1, what do you think? We get a little glimpse.
Yeah. The beginning part, at first I could not tell if it was a dream sequence. And then later found out when she was holding the branch that turned out to be a gun that this is just how her mind makes her see things. So I guess it wasn't. It's a little different than what I thought, but it still kind of fits that it's somewhat future can see of what is planning ahead, but not necessarily like meditative sees like a whole event play out before
her. Okay. In regards of the gun with the stick, I like that bit. It was pretty cool looking. It's one of the few memories I had before we started this podcast from when I first saw this as a kid. That was one of the few things I remembered.
Yeah, and it's definitely an imagery that sticks with you. I agree with that. It's one of the things I remember too.
And it's not even that significant. It's just cool.
Just cool, man. Yeah, I agree. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And then I was like, whoa, that's going on here. Roller coaster ride.
And was that the gun she got during the shootout on the space station?
No, because that's one of Jane's.
Yeah, there was a whole.
Well, he said he locks his guns up, right?
Yeah, but that wasn't the pistol. That wasn't the pistol that
she used.
God. Yeah, that Kaylee used. Yeah, it wasn't the same one.
It is convenient that there was essentially just a pistol lying on the floor.
Yeah,
I'll admit, as a kid, I actually legitimately thought she teleported the gun into her hand.
Oh wow.
'Cause I didn't,
OP.
yeah, very OP.
OP.
That's what I thought as a child because I had no idea what was going on, and um,
I mean, it's not the one Malcolm used when he got shot, right? That was taped to the cargo.
No.
That one either.
No, I don't. Yeah, I'd never seen it before. It's all shiny though. I liked it.
This one looks new and shiny, while the one he used to defend himself when he got shot was a little more rustic looking.
Yeah. So the gun. Don't know anything. Don't know where this is. That's a mystery that hasn't been solved yet.
I don't know. Sprinks, have you solved the mystery? Or are you the same boat?
Oh, where the gun came from?
Yeah. Or if we've seen it before.
Just no, I don't know.
Well, while we're talking to you, popcorn.
Want a bit of popcorn, do you?
Popcorn to
From
who,
Sprinks.
me?
Yes.
Yeah, you. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. From the angle of where the bounty hunter got on the ship to peer through the window, Wash
They would have seen him.
and Zoe were on the end table. Wash is, I was okay, just okay because it's Wash. Zoe is far more observant to have spotted it, and I think that was a problem.
It's worse because Zoe's facing that way too.
Yeah,
And she's a military person.
And the
Has to be
doctor's
aware.
the doctor's facing that way, but I'm more likely to
Yeah.
give him credence because he doesn't have combat instincts.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Would have been caught there.
Um,
Him entering the ship.
That would have set off an alarm. That also would have vented air out. That would have done so many fucking things.
The air venting was my issue. Because the alarms, it seems like he was able to disable stuff and hide from radar. So I assumed he could have done something with the alarms.
Mm-hmm.
The whole air thing, though, I thought was off.
He's a professional.
He is a professional, and I like we see Malcolm go to his bunk. Guy turns the corner. Malcolm's there, and they just stare at each other. This is awkward.
What the
and then he swiftly takes him out.
Yeah, and doesn't make him drop. Like he catches him just before, and then quiet. This guy was bona fide creepy.
I like this guy. This is pretty good.
I like him. He serves his purpose as a bad guy, but I definitely didn't like him.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like him personally. Well written bad guy.
No, I want to have pancakes with this man. No, but he was an enjoyable villain.
Yeah, he was.
Does that seem right to you?
Yeah.
The moment he was just like, with Kaylee, and he's like, "You ever been raped?" I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
It's so unexpected.
Yeah, I was like, Jesus Christ, what's about to happen? I really don't want to watch this if what I think is going to happen is about to happen.
It's even more uncomfortable because it's Kaylee.
Yeah, it's Kaylee. It's out of nowhere. Yeah. But I was so caught off guard because I was like, oh my god, I don't think I've ever in the history of like watching a bad guy or a villain heard any of them like utter like so like just matter of factly that
very
statement.
Unstable.
Yeah, like
so
I was just
calm.
like, oh yeah. He's weirdly agreeable. I don't know. There's like that weird like charisma about him.
I love watching.
Yeah, he plays a nice guy, but he's not a nice guy. His mannerisms as if he's a nice guy.
Did you say lion? Oh, I thought you said lion, not lion.
Oh, the alliance thing? That was weird.
Yeah,
it was kind of a lame joke.
I don't know why that was even in there.
Yeah,
because it was funny. I liked it.
Got one laugh.
It was funny in that like.
It's just because you're taking him so seriously, and then it's like that happens, and you kind of like off balance a little bit.
You kind of just see like the more human aspect of the bounty hunter is because misunderstood for someone who's very very supposed to be very very intimidating. Yeah. I think this one has one of my favorite lines. Psychic, isn't that a bit science fiction? You live in a spaceship, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
What
would be science fiction to like a science fiction show like Halo. What would be considered science fiction?
That's a
it's all been achieved.
Well, apparently, from what we've already discussed, a machine that makes organs.
Yeah, that's sci-fi. Straight up.
Yes, Sinister. You gotta pop in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's weird. He's kind of like, I guess, like him as a villain. It's almost like this, like Joker-ishness, because
maybe I'll bring a present down the chimney.
Yeah, he's a bad guy, but he has this, this weirdly agreeable aura about him that, is like, you're not really sure if he's like could do something, but then like seconds later you realize, oh no, this guy could do a lot of really, really bad stuff, and and get away with it in a legal, or
the charm is definitely like does not go with the dialogue, but it's great.
No,
it works so well.
Yeah.
And Simon's like, well, what if I say no? He's like, well, I could just have my way with that lady in the the engine room. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ. Yeah, and it's weird because you can tell from Simon. Simon's just like, okay, what the fuck is going on? This guy's crazy, but he's crazy, but he seems like he knows enough of what's going on to be a threat, like, legitimate threat. And it's like he's never encountered that before.
I really wanted Shepard to do something cool, but then he got KO'd.
Yeah, he just got knocked out instantly. Yeah, they wanted to, but they're like, oh, if we do that,
underutilized character in this show is Shepard.
I'm sure, like, if they hadn't have known that they were going to get canceled, like, immediately, or like, like in season 10 or episode 11 or whatever, they probably would have done something more with him. But they probably were like, if we do anything with him now, it's gonna be like, nothing's gonna come of it, so it's just gonna be kind of weird out of nowhere.
Yeah, he screams long-term plans, and they didn't get that.
No. And Jane just sleeps the whole time.
Hilarious.
Yep.
He pulls the sheet like he's gonna do some cool action stuff, grab some guns.
Yeah.
And then he just wraps it over himself and goes back to sleep. I'm like, yeah, that's Jane.
That was pretty funny.
That was a good Jane moment.
You know what? It's official now. I'm going to say it. Jane is my favorite. He beat Malcolm.
He did it. He did it.
I'll be the outlier since everyone seems to like Malcolm. I'll do it.
I like Wash.
I like Jane.
I like Wash.
I like Wash.
Yeah,
do you love
at least
Jane?
part one?
Shockingly,
everyone pretty much said Malcolm.
But do you love Jane? That's the real question. Do you like Jane, or do you love?
I watched the Jane show, like we said.
Yeah. Crimson loves Jane. Me, Jane. You, Tarzan.
I love when the bounty hunter says, "Your sister is starting to become an annoyance," and Simon just goes really, really sarcastically, but also truthfully, "I feel you."
Yeah. I just love, like, he's just like, okay, this is not going at all like how I wanted this to go. How am I going to speed this up?
Your sister's one of the smallest cargoes I've had and the biggest pain.
Except for that midget. He said.
Yeah.
Sorry, the little person.
That's a quote.
The quote was midget, so I have to say it, but I didn't have to say that other one. Damn it. Bleep that out. Anyways, but yeah, that was like, okay, there's a story there, and I hope they expand on it a little bit. And yeah, he's an arsonist. Little guy just love fire. It's like stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's like the perfect villain writing, because you're rooting for him a little bit, but he's the bad guy, and you don't want to be on his side.
Definitely, yeah. Charm again, working with the dialogue. You would not marry normally. There's a lot of dialogue in this.
Yeah, he was so kind with Inara, and then she tried to connect with him, and he didn't have it.
Yeah, he's like, poof.
Yeah. Don't analyze me.
You're all insane. Well, my sister is a ship, and we had a complicated childhood.
I do love, like, with a certain moment where they're just like, dude, you're not scary anymore. Like, just give it up. We've already seen
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go. No, you go. That was
I was going to ask if any of you thought River was part of the ship. No.
I guess split second. I thought that could be possible, but
when I was watching my only examples when I was watching this as a kid is I thought she had taken over, like she was just is somewhere in the ship, had rewired all the comms to get to her location. So
that's what I thought. Yeah.
But it makes more sense now. Where she really is.
What about you, Springs?
In the way she stated, where she melted into a puddle and became the ship. No, in a way that there's some way her brain can connect telepathically to the audio frequencies or whatnot on the ship. Yeah.
Okay, so you were on board with she's kind of part of the ship.
Yeah, I thought it was a new ability that is being shown that she can connect that way.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of like she's on the comms. I didn't think his, but yeah.
So there you go, the Great Deception.
Yeah, I guess she got all of us in that regards.
Yeah, she got all of us. She got
Good job,
Jubal early.
I'm sorry, Serenity. You're Serenity for this episode, not River.
Yeah, you're Serenity. Not the ship. You're on my ship. And then her laugh,
like a child.
Yeah, River is a child. A psychopathic child.
A psychopathic child.
That's the real.
Springs, you got a point?
I think River is a bit out of character from what has been shown. I think this is a fairly big, intelligent play by her, and very vocal. That has not been shown prior.
I
can't comment on
agree,
it.
but my only thing is she is so random that I can accept this as a facet of her.
She's so random.
She's got so many different facets to her that I could see this just being one of them.
Having seen Serenity, I cannot comment on this. So.
Okay, don't.
I have seen Serenity as well.
And comment on it, damn it.
No. But I could see what you're coming from. This is the most she talked for sure.
Yeah.
And emoted with creepy laughter and everything. This is the most lucid she's been through the season, I think.
Yeah, but they got the medicine right finally.
She's slowly, progressing, but
and Simon's been working on a cure, so maybe that affected her lucidity.
Yeah. Like she even says, she understands. She just doesn't comprehend. Like she's getting there.
So I guess rationalizing it could be Simon's treatments maybe opened her up a little bit. Don't know if that helps with your viewpoint on it or not. But it is a little different than what we've seen. Oh boy. Writer, you got a point?
Ooh.
Something specific?
How about something general?
And it's a pretty condensed episode.
It's a pretty condensed episode. Yeah, I like his interactions. Like overall, I'll do something blank because I brought it a couple times. I really like the bounty hunters, how he and Simon bounce off each other, especially once like the threatening aspect to him is gone. And I thought the banter, like they kind of formed an almost like not really, I'm not gonna say kinship like or friendship. They just kind of formed an understanding, and once that was established, Simon felt more comfortable just sassing him.
Yeah, because he realized things were in control, man.
And something I didn't like about this was when he got shot. It felt like horse drama.
Dude, he got back up on that horse, man.
Him getting shot was going to happen. I mean, in a progression of events where he thinks River's going to go with him. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know.
Surgeons surgeons don't have surgery performed on them before they have to become surgeon. How do you think about that?
Does that seem right to you? It's funny. That certain bit was funny.
Well, there's a kind of delightful maniacness about it.
I think that's pretty much all I really got.
Well,
Anyone else?
you missed the part. The golden retrievers.
Oh yeah, what did to that neighbor's dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Fucked
we can
up,
see
man.
we can see the intercut of his like internal thought process
Yeah, he's like,
and his external
holy shit.
like mask.
Yeah.
That's why I thought it was River. We're seeing their thoughts through River's head almost because we get to see it with him too.
Yeah. But Mal got him. Got revenge.
Yeah, he's gonna be drifting off into space for the rest of his life.
What a fucking way to go.
Yeah, what a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
Just ripped the helmet off.
Yeah.
But he got to he got to use a Mal quote because he was like, "Yep, here I am."
Yep.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they did that, like, because that's the last line of the show. Like,
yeah,
that's it. There you go. That's the show.
Drifting in space, huh? That was pretty awesome. Remember when we had those shootouts in the heists? Wasn't that cool?
I do like River and Mal's interaction on the ship. You ain't
Yeah,
quite
they have
right.
they get a rapport.
Like, yeah, you ain't quite right. And she's like, that's the popular theory. And she just laughs because that's true.
Yeah. I guess that was kind of a nice thing to end on. That she kind of finally bonded with the crew.
Yeah.
Yeah, she finally found a kind of a place because for most of it she was kind of just a little bit, too unbalanced, and nobody really wanted to, kind of set her off or something. With the exception of like Kaylee, but even then Kaylee was kind of like off put by her, and kind of got away from her. Mm-hmm. So it was nice that they all kind of finally found a ground to stand on.
I concur.
Sprinks, you got any last points?
What a very painful ending.
All around?
Painful for just us, the viewers, that's the end.
Yeah.
But as you said earlier, the Tracy one is the one that was actually filmed last upon cancellation, but wasn't the ending episode of the season.
Well, I don't know if it was the last film. That was just when they were told it was canceled.
Yeah. That was when they were told, yeah.
Yeah.
Last one to air?
Well, the last three episodes aired, I think, a year or so later. But
I don't know the other stuff, so I'll go with what you got.
Only the first, only the 11 actually came out, and then the last 3 didn't air until way after it had already been confirmed that it had been canceled. As far as I'm aware. As far as I'm aware, that's what I know.
Sister, anything else?
This was definitely it sort of is it ends kind of like how it started, where it kind of has this draw in where this is kind of different. This is kind of I'm invested in this, and then as soon as it ends, it's gone. And there's
13 hours of bliss, lifetime withdrawal.
Yeah, so I guess how I feel at the end of this is I do want more, but I know it's, well, God, it ended in like 2002, so it's right now it'll be 20 years almost, probably a little bit more, maybe a little less. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it would be a good place for it to come back in now. I think its time is past. I think if it came back, it wouldn't be as good.
Probably. I don't know how they would handle the companion stuff with today's climate. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean that in itself, but I think just overall, the people involved were kind of like the right age. The timing was kind of right to make something like this. And you gotta give him credit. It was different. Space western. You'd never heard really of that, beforehand, and I don't think anybody's really done it quite. Probably the closest would maybe be like Mandalorian. Is kind of a close like a space western. Um, yeah, that's like about the only thing I can kind of think of that was in a similar vein. But obviously, that's not really like that's just western in tone. It's not really western in aesthetic or anything like that. But who knows? I would love to see somebody make something in a similar vein to this. But I don't think I'd want them to make this now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I would want somebody to make their version of what they would want this to be. I think that's and that's the best. That's honestly the best thing for something that ends too soon, or that it kind of gets canceled. The canceled too early and all that stuff. Is it inspires a lot of people to make that niche thing or something niche like that, down the line that you can enjoy also. And it doesn't fill that void that you didn't get from that show, that you got from that show, but it creates, something new that you can, enjoy. So that's my final thoughts on the end of Firefly.
All right. I was going more specific this episode, but that's all right. Ryder, anything left on this episode?
I like the shot of the zoom in on the ball, the bouncy ball with River. So she's like suddenly very very confident that she can win, because she's more she's more comprehending now, more so just understanding, and she's playing a game with Kaylee, which shows that they're still friends despite all the problems.
Yeah, I kind of like the cutting through the ship angles that they did a couple times in this episode.
That's my last thoughts on the episode.
All right, well, we'll do the episode ratings. Starting with Ryder.
I think I didn't pull it up. That's on me.
Starting with Sprinks.
Okay. Objective 7, subjective 8.
Sinister.
I'm gonna give this an 8.
Subjective 7.5 and subjective 8. Ryder.
Objective 7.7.5 and objective. I'm sorry. Objective 7.5. Subjective 8.
All right.
I think his objective cut out there, but whatever.
He said 7.5.
Okay, there we go.
All right. We did it. We did it, fellas.
Oh my god, we did it.
Now we're gonna have all these people going through withdrawals because they're gonna be all like, "Where's the next Firefly big project?"
Yeah.
It's
funny.
Where's Serenity?
Yeah.
Serenity will return next season.
In the Avengers.
The season after that. It'll come at some point.
All right, so because we got a whole season here, I usually just do ratings, but we'll do summaries first. So, Ryder, I guess your synopsis
of the season.
Yes,
without ratings. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, as I said at the very beginning when we were giving a his rating, this is still to me 13 Hours of Bliss, a lifetime withdrawal. For me now, it's a lot of nostalgia. It's overall, I think the show's quality is still in its characters, and I think one of its biggest flaws is its world building. It's not necessarily enough to break the show, but it's definitely a lot of give and take with it at times. And honestly, I think that it is a product of this show simply being killed before its time. It felt a lot of people in the niche fan base for this particular show feel that way as well. It was killed before its time because a lot of questions are left unanswered. But the core characters that pull you in, I think, are very solid throughout the whole thing. in that even whether the episodes be like standalone or they have at least something akin to a two-parter, but not really. They're just continuing the character stuff from each one. Because I don't think there's not really many direct sequels like two-parter episodes. Even though there are some characters that carry over, and there are a lot of, I guess, there's a lot that is accomplished within the show's short 13 hours, but equivocally not enough for what they were trying to build with this show. And I still feel that loss because I kind of grew up on it. And it's hard for me to find something to fill that void that this left, which is space western. Because as you brought up as an example earlier, Sinister, it's even Mandalorian's not really a good example because he doesn't really do the western thing past the first 3 episodes. And it's and I mean, just gonna beat a dead horse here. The strength of the show is the characters, and the show has a lasting legacy because of them. Deservedly so, I think. And yeah, so I still think the show has a lot to offer in terms of character writing, and plot writing. Again, world building can be tightened, but it's good for what we have in a self-contained way. So I'll pass this along.
Sinister, you're awesome.
I kind of already did it, but I guess I can.
Do you want to add at all? I guess.
Yeah, I might try. Yeah, so I kind of came in. This was a show that I heard about for a number of years, and I kind of always had like in the back of my mind, oh, at some point I'm gonna sit down and watch that, and and as most things that are in your list of things to watch, you never do because it's always expanding, it's always getting longer. So if you don't watch it when you think about it, you're probably not going to happen. So I was happy that as part of this job, I get to watch a lot of cool things, and this is one of them. So this was something that it scratched an itch that I didn't know I really had, which is, I guess, space western. And the only thing that I think comes really, really close to being space western other than this is probably Aliens versus Cowboys. Cowboys versus Aliens. And that's not really good. But This is pretty good. This is pretty good. Or I guess maybe Wild Wild West. That might be close to. But anyways, it's, whatever. But so this was, a nice thing that, and unfortunately, that probably its greatest strength and its greatest weakness is the fact that it got canceled so early. Because I think if it had, because we only really, I guess, remark on things that end abruptly or end to, like only the good die young, that kind of whole sentiment. So it didn't have the opportunity to betray itself or its story in some way. So it's pretty much, close to perfect because it's in like the infancy of it. Who knows? We'll never know. But and that's one of the greatest strengths about it is that there's so much there that could have been done and we'll never get to see, but we can always imagine about what it could have been and, use that to create our own things, which I think that's the greatest lasting impact anything can have on you is to make you want to make more of something. So I guess take that with you.
Nice sentiment. And Spranks, you're up.
Well, first time finishing the show. Space Western. I don't necessarily know what to really go over. It was good. From when I first started watching it and stopped, I have grown more to an understanding of the appreciation for westerns, which really got me through the rest of the entirety of the show. I mean, basically, I don't want to restate what's already said with all of you.
Okay.
It's a good show.
There we go.
Right. And for myself, with the end we got, I'm glad at least it wasn't a stinker. It wasn't episode 13.
Yeah, it didn't end on like a kind of lame episode, at least.
It was a decent one. Had a good villain in it, because the previous two had kind of lacking in the villain department. In terms of our characters throughout the show, I think she did a good job pacing out character interactions. There were some we didn't get much of, like was mentioned with Wash and Kaylee and whatnot, but what we did get was always good, I think, with our main core of characters. And with such a low number of episodes, I was not expecting reoccurring villains in this. And we got 2 in just 14 episodes. So that was pretty cool. Fortunately, we didn't get an end to one of them. Maybe they'll show up in Serenity. Who knows? Maybe Ryder and I do. But I'll throw it out. And I pretty much agree with everyone else's stuff about it. So
why don't you just turn into a big old echo chamber? Huh?
I made it a little unique, just a baby bit.
No, I know.
All right, and now we got our final ratings for the series as a whole, starting with Ryder.
Yeah.
All right. I'll do my subjective first, as I always do. Because I think this has been pretty consistent throughout the show. I think my average is going to be somewhere between 8 and 9. So I'm gonna split. Well, actually, no. I think it's gonna be an 8.5. I'm gonna give it that. That's where the average is. Like I said, I have a lot of nostalgic attachment to this. I grew up watching this with family. I still really, really love it. Like, I still have the song on my Spotify playlist, and I've had it on my playlist for as long as I've had Spotify. And I love all the memes that have come out of this show, all the quotes. It's been weird being a fan of the show as we've slowly gone to a more modern era, just to see all the differences between how culture adapts and accepts things. So it's been interesting to watch like meme culture slowly kind of overtake Firefly, and I have some fun with it. Obviously, it does suck on the more meta side of things with Joss Whedon, but I think Firefly, in a similar vein the way Buffy was, is a good demonstration of what Joss is capable of with when he's working creatively. Like, I think he's still a good creator despite all the problems that are now attributed to him. Just a lot of nostalgic love for me on this show. That's hard for me to get to be like, to feel degraded almost on. As for objective, I'm not going to repeat all my love for characters and stuff like that. And my issues with world building has been brought up when I think it's super relevant. Going into the show, I thought I would be giving it a 7.5 coming out objectively, but I think that's going to get dropped. My average is probably dropped because of this second half, which is, I am in agreement with Crimson, because we had a talk outside the podcast where the second half wasn't as strong. So I think my average for objective is going to be 7. Would be my guess.
Okay. I guess I'll go next. So I did calculate my average in the first part. I haven't kept track of part 2's numbers. So I decided to make the season rating different, because each individual episode had its own things, but seeing it as a whole can be different than an episode by episode basis. So with my objective, I gave it an 8, which I could be talked down to 7.5, but I'll leave it at an 8. my average, at least in part 1, was 7.5. I think as a whole, as a season, and not technically a series, I think it did pretty well. Specifically talking the character interactions I just spoke in the summary. I think most of the CG in this is good for the time. We pointed out some bad moments, but overall it's good. The camera work, there were some good moments. So overall, it's mostly average. In episode 8, we got some good transitions, but overall transitions are usually the average stuff. Nothing too crazy. Yeah, the stories of each episodes are generally pretty simple, but they do a lot of small subversions with usually character interactions, not really plot subversions, which kind of like them. I think the only one we really got was Saffron, and I guess Saffron Part 2 technically, but
yeah,
lesser extent, I think. So subjectively, there was very little I remembered of this since I saw it as a kid, so I don't have too much nostalgia for it, but I do very much enjoy it with an 8.5. A show I will watch again. I liked all the characters. I do wish we got more of Zoe and Anara, because Anara was kind of flat. She didn't have too much character stuff, unfortunately. But everyone else, I think, was pretty good within their character. Anyways, Wash, still think he's a little annoying, but it is within his character after all, so I'm fine with it. Yeah, there we go. Done with mine. Sinister.
Right. Yeah, it was a little hard for me to, I guess, to combine or have a whole season into one rating. It's got a lot of arcing stories, a lot of moving parts, but I think I for the most part, there was definitely more episodes that I liked than I disliked. Probably the biggest portion of them were in the second half. Two really standout ones. And the only other thing that I can think of that other than we've already established, the world building was a little light. There's just that because they have so many characters, you're not going to get, and there's only 14 episodes. We didn't get, I think, as much development as I would have generally liked in a first season. But the development that was there and that we were able to see, I think, generally stayed true to their motivations and where they'd be for the most part. So I'm not going to knock it too harshly for that, but it is something that I have to acknowledge. I think overall I would give this, I'd say, an 8. I was going to do 7.5, but I feel pretty strongly about an 8 over. Because even with the stinker episodes and some of the less than world building and stuff, it's still fairly a strong season.
Especially for a half season.
Yeah, it's not even a full season, technically. Yeah.
Sprinks.
Okay. Guess I'll start with the objective. For the time of the show came out, it can't be faulted for what it had at the time, even though my main thing would probably be on lighting for natural versus set, which I still prefer, but it did seem natural lighting, which with what they used of their cameras at hand did add a lot of grain and took away some quality and resolution. Some quality, I'll just say quality from it. What was shown, but as the time, that's what they had. I believe the costumes were good. Every character kind of has their main set outfit look, but depending on episode to episode, the color scheme changes in aspects of it, which I think is cool. But even though they have their set main outfit that they're in, it's not like the same costume they're always in kind of thing, which is just a nice detail I think adds to it. I think reoccurring villains was a nice touch for a single-use season. I think the strongest thing is acting from the main Serenity crew. I do like they all get along with their quirks of standing out differently from one another, which makes them a more well-knitted, tight crew. Camera work throughout episodes, sometimes it was really cool. Sometimes it was okay. Sometimes I don't know why it was needed at points. It seemed that there was a little bit of experimentation, which was interesting. As we already covered, the episode that had a lot of close-ups compared to any other episode, an episode that had a point of view shot that I believe no other episode had. In part 1, we had the episode where they went aboard I think it was episode 4 or 3 when they went. I think it was episode 3 when they went aboard the abandoned ship.
Reavers.
With the Reavers ship, the horror elements used in the camera work there were very cool, but it was kind of only used in set episodes, so I'm gonna presume it was experimental to see what would work best with the episode, but I think that was still really cool. It wasn't set to one look to make it kind of boring. Writing was good in aspects of that. I know I'm not the one to be talking about when it comes to writing, but I think it all worked. There were some corny lines, but for the corny characters, they fit. Some lines that were very short and cut to the point. The most heavily impacted lines, I think, were all out of Malcolm for being main, which fit well. And we're supposed to. It's good to have the titled character have his times of low and times of high for what he was being said and demonstrating to his crew. So, an entirely of objective, giving it a 7. The whole thing, it was good. It definitely had parts that I did not care for, but still overall good, and I would watch again. Subjectively, there were some jokes that were pretty funny. There were some jokes that were a little cringy and kind of rattled me. There were parts that were confusing. There were parts that were badass. It was a good mixture of all these things in a show that kind of just has it as they get the job done no matter what. So overall, subjectively, at the age now of me watching it to its entirety of the show, I also give it a 7.
All right. That's it. That's Firefly. It's done.
That's Firefly in a nutshell.
Over.
Yeah.
Will we visit these characters again? Who knows?
I hope so.
Will Malcolm Reynolds ever find his lost toupee?
No, he had one.
His pretty floral bonnet.
Will he ever regain his ship?
Didn't know he lost it.
Will anyone find the Joss Whedon sock?
Will anybody ever figure out the mystery behind the pistol?
I didn't know there was a mystery.
Lots of mysteries we missed.
You went there for that.
Maybe it'll be answered in Serenity. I guess that's it. Take us away, writer.
All
Yeah.
right.
Oh, and this was this end of the season until the recap.
Yeah,
coming out.
yeah.
We shall
Bury the hatchet.
yeah,
Why don't you?
we shall see it. And welcome back, Sinister. It's been a while.
Yeah. Listen, I had to see what the intrepid crew of Serenity were up to.
Fair enough. All right. Well, as always, you can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Google Google Podcasts, Amazon, Castbox, and Pocket Cast. Don't forget, we got our visual medium and YouTube. So feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I have been a geeky writer.
Comes around.
I've been a character called Sinister Boy.
And I'm Sprinks.
And we will catch you next time. Later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodaloo.